नमस्कार, गुड मॉर्निंग। हेल्थ फॉर ऑल के नए एपिसोड में आपका स्वागत है। सरकार के नए आदेश के अनुसार आज यानी 10 अप्रैल से देश के सभी एडल्ट्स को कोविड वैक्सीन का तीसरा डोज बूस्टर के रूप में दिया जा रहा है। दूसरी तरफ दुनिया के कई मुल्कों में कोविड ने फिर से पांव पसारना शुरू कर दिया है नए वेरिएंट के रूप में। भारत में भी कई राज्यों में पिछले कुछ दिनों में कोविड केसेस में मामूली बढ़त हुई है और ये आशंका व्यक्त की जाने लगी है कि कहीं चौथी वेव ना आ जाए। ठीक इसी मौके पर सभी एडल्ट्स को बूस्टर डोज देने के सरकार के फैसले को कोविड के बढ़ते मामलों से जोड़कर देखा जाना चाहिए या ये महज एक कोइंसिडेंस है। अगर कोविड का चौथा वेव आ गया तो हम कितने तैयार हैं और क्या ये बूस्टर डोज चौथे वेव को आने से रोक देगा? ऐसे कई सवाल हमारे आपके मन में उठ रहे होंगे। आज के एपिसोड में हम इन्हीं सवालों के जवाब ढूंढेंगे देश के बड़े बड़े डॉक्टरों और महामारी विशेषज्ञों से। अगले 3 घंटे तक हमारा ये शो फेसबुक और यूट्यूब पर लाइव रहेगा। लेकिन बहस में जाने से पहले सबसे पहले हम देखते हैं ये राउंड अप वीडियो। नमस्कार, हेल्थ फॉर ऑल के 25वें एपिसोड में आप सबका हृदय से स्वागत है।
And the first session is on yoga for mental peace.
Today's topic is mental health in yoga, and absolutely no mental health conversation can get over without the mention of yoga, because just yoga is the absolute answer. Not absolute, I will say it has to be paired with many other solutions, definitely. But yoga will provide many solutions to you. Normally, when we talk about yoga, we'll say for mental health, do meditation. But meditation is very difficult. It takes years of time and practice to be able to meditate well. So today we're going to be looking at various solutions and also meditation towards the end. Now, for a basic understanding, in yoga there are 2 types of yoga. Okay, there are multiple yoga practices which are around the world, but we're looking at yin yoga and yang yoga. Okay, yin yoga is when the yoga is calming, it is relaxing. आपको योगा करने के बाद मतलब ऐसा लग रहा है कि हाँ स्ट्रेच करा, अच्छा लग रहा है, you are refreshed. Second type of yoga is for strength, stability, flexibility, that is yang yoga. Yoga has 3 parts: asana, pranayama, meditation. Hip opening asana for the first one. इसका सबसे बेस्ट और आसान सोल्यूशन है वॉकिंग. वॉक के लिए जाइए 10 minutes, 20 minutes, half an hour, however long that you can. It is very good for your health. Second will be in hip opening asanas. Let's say you're doing side stretches, or you can be doing lunges. Okay. इसी में आता है अंजनीय आसना. तो आप ये आसना कर सकते हैं जिसमें आपके हिप ओपन हो रहे हैं. काली आसना. If you're sitting down. Yeah, so all of these are going to help you open your hip. And why do we do hip? It's because Mooladhara chakra is one of the chakras. It's the first chakra in your body, which is very important. It is at the bottom. Okay, when you sit down, it is the lowest position of your body. Okay, Mooladhara chakra इसलिए होता है कि आप अगर आपने वो चक्र एक्टिवेट करा, then you're moving towards wanting to do something. आपको ये चाहिए ना कि आपको जिंदगी में चाहिए कि आपको कुछ करना है. ओके, इट मूव्स फ्रॉम इनर्शिया टू मोबिलिटी. इसलिए अगर आपको मन नहीं कर रहा है काम करने का, यू डोंट नो व्हाट टू डू, यू आर वेरी बोर्ड टुडे, ओके, गो फॉर अ वॉक. इट हेल्प्स वेरी वेल. इट इज बिकॉज यू आर एक्टिवेटिंग योर मूलाधार चक्र व्हेन यू आर वॉकिंग. Other solutions will be hip opening asanas that I just spoke about. Second set that we're looking at is balancing asanas. कोई भी आसना जिसमें आप बैलेंस कर रहे हैं, जैसे एक पैर पे बैलेंस करो, वृक्षासना, आपने हाथ सामने जोड़ लिए, हाथ ऊपर जोड़ लिए. दिस इज वन ऑफ द इजियर बैलेंसिंग आसना. अगर आप इतना ऊपर भी नहीं कर पा रहे, यू कैन stand near a wall, take support, जितना पैर ऊपर हो रहा है उतना, then you slowly try to move your hands away, जितना हो रहा है उतना. Moving on to third, we're going to be looking at inversion. Okay, inversion क्या होता है? सर नीचे. Okay, ideally handstand, headstand, but these are very difficult. आपको बहुत दिनों की, महीनों की प्रैक्टिस लगती है इसके लिए. So very simple inversions where blood is flowing to your head will be bend down, touch your feet, stay for some time. Yeah, otherwise you can spread your legs, bend down, all you have to do is move your head to the ground. So इसमें you can even do mountain pose when you're doing this. Even mountain pose is going to help because blood is flowing to your head.
और अब वक्त है हमारे खास सेगमेंट योर हेल्थ काउंटर का. आज का टॉपिक है मेंटल हेल्थ इन पर्सपेक्टिव ऑफ कोविड-19 एंड देयर आफ्टर, जिस पर बात करेंगे देश के जाने माने मेंटल हेल्थ विशेषज्ञ डॉक्टर निमेश देसाई. निमेश देसाई का नाम मेंटल हेल्थ केयर के पर्यायवाची के रूप में लिया जाता है. कहीं भी मेंटल हेल्थ केयर का जिक्र हो और डॉक्टर निमेश देसाई का नाम ना आए, ऐसा हो ही नहीं सकता. डॉक्टर देसाई का इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ ह्यूमन बिहेवियर एंड अलाइड साइंसेस दिल्ली से संबंध है. वहाँ वो डायरेक्टर हैं संस्थान का, और संस्थान के विकास में बड़ा योगदान है इनका. इस संस्थान को नेशनल इंपॉर्टेंस का संस्थान बनाने का क्रेडिट डॉक्टर देसाई को भी जाता है, जहाँ उन्होंने 11 साल से अपनी सेवाएं दी है, हेड ऑफ साइकियाट्री डिपार्टमेंट के रूप में और मेडिकल सुपरिटेंडेंट के रूप में भी. हम डॉक्टर निमेश देसाई का अपने शो में स्वागत करते हैं. डॉक्टर साहब, डॉक्टर निमेश देसाई से विस्तार से बातचीत करेंगे मिस्टर आर शंकर. मिस्टर शंकर हील फाउंडेशन के प्रेसिडेंट हैं. वो हील फाउंडेशन ऑर्गेनाइजिंग कमेटी के हेल्थ राइटर्स और एडिटर कन्वेंशन के चेयरमैन भी हैं. मिस्टर शंकर का जर्नलिज्म में 30 साल से भी ज्यादा समय का अनुभव है. अब तक वो 200 से ज्यादा हेल्थ राइटर्स वर्कशॉप और 7 नेशनल हेल्थ राइटर्स एंड एडिटर्स कन्वेंशन का आयोजन कर चुके हैं.
What were the mental issues seen during the COVID in probably various segments like vulnerable population including healthcare providers, COVID survivors, disabled and older adults, children and adolescents? I'll start with vulnerable population including healthcare providers.
Shankarji, primarily I would divide it this way. It's now 2 years that we have finished the epidemic, 2 years duration. In the first year, 2020, it was more of anxiety, fear, dread of the unknown, of the infection, of what might happen, and a few experiences of people going through, including healthcare professionals and other frontline workers. I will include, लगता है मुझे एक चीज अक्सर सूझती है कि फ्रंटलाइन वर्कर्स में डॉक्टर्स, नर्सेज, हेल्थ केयर प्रोफेशनल्स को इंक्लूड कर लिया जाता है, and so do the police and the law enforcement people. But we often forget at many levels that media professionals, especially photojournalists and field reporters, have actually had a lot of trauma of the epidemic. And they kept the information going for all of us through their work. But all of these frontline workers, in 2020, it was more about the fear, not knowing what will happen, and also the reasonably satisfying experience of growing with science. I somehow, by nature and by conviction, refuse to look at only the negative of any experience for myself or for humanity. And so while in 2020, there was a lot of fear, anxiety, and all stuff, a lot of people, law enforcement people, doctors and nurses, and media professionals in their own field were learning how to develop science, how to implement good scientific practices, and how to disseminate scientific information to the general population so that the epidemic gets controlled. So that was a very exciting experience in that sense. 2021 was bad. I must say I corrected myself because I used to believe, based on past experiences in the world and in this country, that our populations will generally deal with it well और ज़्यादा depression और ऐसा असर होगा नहीं. लेकिन second wave ने जो तबाही मचाई, the mayhem that the second wave caused definitely led to a lot of trauma, depression cases being on the rise, suicide attempts and completed suicide being on the rise, and a whole lot of other mental health problems.
We now move on to session 3.
क्या मेंटल हेल्थ रिलेटेड जो प्रॉब्लम्स होते हैं, खासकर डिप्रेशन, इनका परमानेंट क्योर संभव है क्या?
देखिए, there cannot be a one line answer for this thing. Permanent solution का सवाल ही नहीं आता. Even life is not permanent. It is the interplay of the, your personality, your genetic formulations, as well as the stress factors, your ambitions, your achievements, all those things. So at all the stages, and even in the history, if you see, this is there. So cases are there where there is a genetic loading, and if that is so, that is a different thing. There cannot be a permanent solution. But all the conflicts and all the stresses, if they are properly resolved, yes, practically it may lead to a relief, and a better relief for a long time. And that can be called as a permanent relief. The antidepressant therapy which has come, there are various models. Because, it is now half a century I am in psychiatry. And when I joined psychiatry, we could not imagine many things. Even the treatment of Alzheimer's were not there, and even depression, etc. And only ECT was the one treatment and few drugs. Now we have got so many drugs to suit every kind of patients, which provide the relief. And if you are experienced enough, yes, you can definitely give them. And assurance is there, the permanent relief is not there. Say, for example, blood pressure. All the routine things, thyroid, etc. We have to continuously give the medication. So same way, after the acute, the active stage subsides, then the maintenance therapy starts. And maintenance therapy means only, less than 50% of the original medications. And that they continue, then it is practically amounts to permanent relief.
This year's World Bipolar Day theme is Bipolar Together. The International Bipolar Foundation states that a recent survey found that 77% of Bipolar 1 participants said living with disorder made them feel isolated or alone, and 81% said they felt like no one understands what they're going through. Your comments?
Sure. Yeah, I think with most chronic mental health disorders, patients eventually face these issues. One, because of the sort of social impact For example, loss of jobs with episodes, gradually also loss of friends, loss of connections. So this is definitely an impact in whether it's bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, any chronic mental illness. This risk is always there, and this isolation leads to a lot of secondary depressive symptoms as well, and also increases risk of suicide. I think I'd like to add here about the great work that Bipolar India is doing. Disclaimer being, I'm on the trust board of this organization, but the kind of work they're doing is unique because there is no real pure support group for bipolar disorders in India, and they run this out of Andheri. So it was started by a patient and is continued by him, and now it's developed into a full-blown organization, which is also registered as an NGO now. And so they have a support group that meets every 2 weeks. And of course, in the pandemic, they were doing it online, but now they've started meeting physically again. And the kind of impact that meeting people who have suffered and are doing very well gives to those who are struggling with the early phases of bipolar disorder is amazing. They absolutely start believing again that they are capable of working again and leading absolutely successful lives.
चिल्ड्रन में बाइपोलर डिसऑर्डर की क्या स्थिति हमारे देश में, क्या कोई स्टडी हुई है?
ये चिल्ड्रन में बाइपोलर डिसऑर्डर की बहुत ज्यादा स्टडीज नहीं है, बट 2 की स्टडीज है, एक 98 में हुई है और 2004 में हुई है। और दोनों स्टडीज में ये पाया गया है कि बच्चों में जो बाइपोलर डिसऑर्डर होता है उसकी रिस्पांस बहुत अच्छी होती है मेडिसिन देने पे, कि जिस सिम्टम्स या जिस प्रॉब्लम्स के साथ वो आते हैं डॉक्टर के पास, वो बहुत अच्छी तरह से रिस्पॉन्ड कर जाते हैं। बट ये होता है कि उस मेडिसिन को चलाते हुए भी उनको कुछ ना कुछ रिलैप्सेस आने की संभावना होती है। तो इससे हमको ये केयरफुल रहना पड़ता है कि आगे इसको रिलैप्स न हो, इसीलिए इसका फॉलो अप और इसको ज्यादा ध्यान देना पड़ता है, क्योंकि अगर ये रिलैप्स होता जाएगा तो जैसे मैंने पहले बोला कि इनकी पर्सनालिटी और साइकोलॉजिकल और फिजिकल डेवलपमेंट में भी नेगेटिव इफेक्ट हो सकता है। तो ये 2 की स्टडीज है यहाँ पे।
When children come in with certain things, parents don't actually recognize that it is a bipolar disorder, and generally there is a thin line between hyperactivity, between misbehavior, between throwing tantrums and bipolar. So how do you actually distinguish all this?
Symptomatically, it's very different. Symptoms of ADHD and mania, although they can feel similar, but bipolar disorder, like everyone's been talking about, is primarily a mood disorder. So your mood will be affected. So you'd have to speak to the parents in your clinical interview, speak to the do an observational interview with the child. Symptoms of ADHD would more be that they're not able to sit in one place. They would be either inattention or hyperactivity, which is kind of different from symptoms of mood, which is that mania would always go along with depressive symptoms as well. So you'd have to speak to the parents to understand if there are episodes where the child feels depressed, there are episodes where the mood feels elated. So the symptomatic presentation would be different.
Namaskar and welcome to this episode of Health4All. Let me remind our viewers that we are live on Facebook and YouTube. Now we start a first session on yoga. It will be on hypothyroidism. We have with us Dr. Pooja Pandey, a certified yoga teacher, an expert in aerobics and Zumba, and runs Arogya Physiotherapy, combining all these techniques for better living. She is also the creative spirit behind her successful YouTube channel called Arogya Physio Tips. More than anything else, Dr. Pooja Pandey knows what time is the right time, and she's known for her time management too. Welcome to this show, Dr. Pooja Pandey.
Thank you.
Speaking of time, you have time till 8:55. Over to you.
Okay, thank you so much. So today we are going to talk about not hyperthyroidism, we are going to talk about hypothyroidism. A lot of difference in hypo and hyper. So what is the difference? First, let us know that everybody talks about I have thyroid. Nobody talks about which kind of thyroid they have. Okay. So one is when your thyroid glands are underactive is when you have hypothyroidism. So you need to activate them. Now in hyperthyroidism, you lose weight. In hypothyroidism, you gain weight. Okay. And that's why it is more important that you exercise or you do yoga or you do pranayama during hypothyroidism. Okay. Now, what kind of symptoms you may have? Again, as I said, they'll be gaining weight. They will feel lethargic or lazy to get up in the morning and do things. Sometimes we don't understand that there are symptoms related with diseases which gives you this. So when you feel lazy, most of us, what they say is get up from the bed. Why are you feeling lazy? Nobody talks about you can do your vitamin D tested, or nobody talks about vitamin B12 tested, or get your thyroid tested. Because these are the symptoms which may be related with a disorder. I can't say it is a disease because we can actually reverse it. It is a disorder that your thyroid glands are not working properly. They are underactive and they are not able to produce that amount of thyroid. That's why it's hypothyroidism. Now, what should you do in hypothyroidism apart from yoga? Because I need to give a complete information. So one, since I told you that in this condition, you gain weight and it's very, very common in many women. So what they should do is, one, they should definitely start some aerobic activity. Now, when I say aerobic activity, that means it is cardio endurance activity. Activity which makes you sweat, activity which makes your heart rate little high, activity which makes your breathing little high. So those are the activities which get into cardiovascular endurance. When I say aerobic activity, you can actually do yoga. If you do 108 Surya Namaskar, of course, it becomes a cardio activity. So yes, you can do Surya Namaskar when it comes to yoga. You can actually walk around. If you cannot do anything, just walk around every day. Everyone else walk for half an hour, you walk for 45 minutes at least. Or you start small jogging or swimming or maybe cycling or dancing. I'm giving you so many things because you can choose what you like. But every day doing 5 days a week is very, very, very necessary. You need to sweat a little bit. You need to overall activate your body. Okay. Now you can start with small impact activity like I told you, walking or jogging or swimming or cycling. And then you can do a high level interval training. That means you can actually pace out your run or actually pace out, maybe increase the intensity of song. If you were doing 4 songs or 5 songs in dancing, start with 7 songs. So you have to increase the intensity. You don't stop there with cardiovascular endurance exercise. So first and foremost is you need to sweat at least 5 days a week. The second thing, which is very, very important, is strength training. You need to develop strength in your body, and weight training helps a lot in that. When it comes to weight training, you can obviously do yoga, all the dandasan, the high plank position, all these high plank, elbow plank, all these are basically improves the strength in your overall body. Apart from that, if you cannot do that, you have less strength in your body and you cannot do squatting and stuff like that, then what you do, you start with 1 kg, 2 kg dumbbells so that this is easy on you, and start with small training. Now, how many times you should do it? Weekly, twice or thrice. Okay, so strength training again can be done through yoga, but through yoga, what happens? We use our body weight. Okay, body weight, that's calisthenics. Okay, उसका नाम बोलते हैं, जब हम body weight को use करते हैं तो उसको बोलते हैं calisthenics. तो कैलिस्थेनिक्स अगर हम कर रहे हैं तो बहुत सारे लोग इनकेपेबल होते हैं ये करने के लिए. तो दैट्स व्हाई अगर आप नहीं कर पा रहे हैं अपना बॉडी वेट से, तो छोटा डंबल पकड़िए और डंबल से एक्सरसाइज करना चालू करिए. कितने बार? दिन में हफ्ते में 2 या 3 बार. सो वीकली ट्वाइस और थ्राइस इज व्हेन you will exercise. Okay, now apart from strength training, there are certain poses which can help you in yoga to activate your gland. Okay, since the gland is located here in the neck, आपका gland neck के पास होता है, तो आप neck exercises से start कर सकते हैं. Okay, आप breathe in करिए, पीछे ले जाइए, breathe out, normal, neutral position, breathe in, back, breathe out. सांस अंदर ले, सांस बाहर छोड़े, अंदर ले, बाहर छोड़े. कितने बार कर सकते हैं? अब नेक एक्सरसाइजेस तो आप दिन में मतलब बहुत बार कर सकते हैं. नेक एक्सरसाइजेस इज समथिंग व्हिच यू कैन डू मोर टाइम्स. आप टीवी देख रहे हैं, आप नेक एक्सरसाइजेस करिए, सामने आप नेक एक्सरसाइजेस कर सकते हैं. तो नेक एक्सरसाइजेस को आप एक्सरसाइज ना समझ के, सो ब्रीद इन, ब्रीद आउट, breathe in, breathe out. Looking at the opposite shoulder, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. We are basically trying to activate all the neck muscles, which thereby can activate your thyroid gland. Okay. Similarly, bending to the side, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in. आप जब योगा कर रहे हैं तो आपकी सांस से कनेक्ट करना बहुत ही जरूरी है. तो आप हमेशा याद रखिए कि every exercise or every movement you are doing in yoga, you are connecting with your breath. Very, very important. Okay. The next is neck rotation. So you breathe in, you rotate your neck and breathe out and you come back. Breathe in, rotate your neck, breathe out, come back. Okay. You can actually skip the down part and you can just do it above. So breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. हमेशा याद रखिए कि कोई भी मूवमेंट जिसमें स्पाइन एक्सटेंशन है या फिर नेक एक्सटेंशन है, वो सारी मूवमेंट आपके थायराइड ग्लैंड के लिए, हाइपोथायरॉयडिज्म के लिए. ओके, नॉट हाइपर. तो जो भी एक्सरसाइज मैं बता रही हूँ वो हाइपोथायरॉयडिज्म पेशेंट जिनका अंडर एक्टिव ग्लैंड है. तो फर्स्ट है नेक एक्सरसाइजेस, जिसमें हमने नेक एक्सटेंशन किया, साइड में ले गए, उनको रोटेट करके देखा और हाफ रोटेशन. ओके, द नेक्स्ट एक्सरसाइज व्हिच इज वन ऑफ माय फेवरेट एक्सरसाइज, दैट इज बेसिकली कैट एंड कैमल. एज यू सी, वी एक्चुअली एक्टिवेट, extend our neck in cat and camel. So come on all the fours. आप क्रॉल पोजीशन में आ जाएं. याद रखें, जब आप क्रॉल पोजीशन में आ रहे हैं तो आप कैसे आ सकते हैं क्रॉल पोजीशन में? आपका एल्बो आपके नी के पास रखिए और आप सीधे हो जाइए. तो दिस इज योर करेक्ट क्रॉल पोजीशन. योर शोल्डर विल बी राइट डाउन द रिस्ट, सो दे विल बी इन वन स्ट्रेट लाइन. ओके, सो इन दिस पोजीशन you go, breathe in, take it all the way up. Okay, give all the pressure at your back. Breathe out, take your back up, neck down. Breathe in, take it all the way up. Breathe out. सांस को अंदर ले और धीरे धीरे बाहर छोड़े. सांस को अंदर ले और धीरे धीरे बाहर छोड़े. So this is called cat and camel exercise. Now When you are doing cat and camel exercise, don't think that how many times you should do it, because this is a very comfortable exercise both for your spine and for hypothyroidism. तो अगर आप 15 बार कर सकते हैं आप 15 बार करिए, अगर आप 30 बार कर सकते हैं आप 30 बार करिए, तो आप जितने बार भी कंफर्टेबल हैं आप उतने बार करिए. Breathe in and breathe out. Make sure when you breathe in, you sink your back down. You can see the curvature here. When you breathe out, you bring it all the way up and hold it there. Okay? So breathe in, breathe out. That's your cat and camel exercise. अब हम next exercise करते हैं. Now next exercise के लिए आप उल्टा लेट जाओ. So I will take the mat little far, and so that you can see me completely together. Okay? My hand is just down the shoulder, and I breathe in, cobra. Breathe out, come down. Breathe in, cobra. Breathe out, come down. सांस को अंदर ले, बाहर छोड़े. सांस को बाहर छोड़े. Okay? So many women who are pregnant, they get hypothyroidism. आपको प्रेगनेंसी में हाइपोथायरॉयडिज्म हो सकता है, तो उस केस में आप कैट एंड कैमल कर सकते हैं, आप नेक एक्सरसाइजेस कर सकते हैं, आप कोबरा शायद फर्स्ट ट्रिमेस्टर में कर सकते हैं, बट सेकेंड थर्ड ट्रिमेस्टर ऑनवर्ड्स इट विल बी वेरी अनकंफर्टेबल टू डू योर कोबरा पोज. सो यू गाइज अवॉइड इट इन सेकेंड एंड थर्ड ट्रिमेस्टर. ओके, अगेन ब्रीद इन, ब्रीद आउट. जब आप ये 15 से 20 करके बहुत कंफर्टेबल हैं, so you breathe in and hold, not the breath, just hold the place. Try to look up as much as possible. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and relax and come down. आप hold कम से कम 3 से 5 बार कर सकते हैं. तो कोबरा जो अप एंड डाउन है आप 10 से 15 बार करिए, और फिर होल्ड आप 3 से 4 बार करिए. तो ये था कोबरा पोज. नेक्स्ट इज धनुरासना. ओके, धनुरासना के लिए आप क्या करेंगे, दोनों पाँव को मोड़ लेंगे. सो बोथ योर एंकल विल बेंड फ्रॉम द नी. ओके, एंड यू विल ट्राई टू ग्रैब योर एंकल फ्रॉम राइट हैंड राइट नी, सॉरी फ्रॉम लेफ्ट हैंड लेफ्ट नी, राइट हैंड राइट नी. ओके, and once you grab them comfortably, you breathe in and come up and hold it there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and relax. Breathe in. Don't hold your breath. Just the contraction. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, and relax. How many times you should do this? 4 to 5 times. अगर आपको घुटने में दर्द है या you have arthritis, then you should avoid doing dhanurasana because this may increase your pain in the knee. So avoid this if you are arthritis patient. Otherwise, as I said, pregnant women second third trimester definitely cannot do this. Okay, and first trimester also many of the women are actually taking rest, so I'm not sure if they can do it. If you are already active, like for example, I was very active during my pregnancy, so the first 3 months I even took fitness classes. So it completely depend upon the women and her fitness level. Okay, now next exercise, we lie down in the front. That is basically fish pose. Okay, so you lie down front. Both the legs are straight. Okay, you come on your elbow. So you come on your elbow. Okay, both side you are in elbow, and you try to keep your neck as back as possible and keep looking and hold this place. Okay, again, don't hold your breath, just the movement or just the pose. Hold the pose. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and relax and thinking. How many times you should do it? 3 to 5 times. 3 to 5 times. आपका नेक पूरा एक्सटेंशन में जाना चाहिए, आपके मैट को टच करना चाहिए आपका हेड, और don't hold your breath, keep breathing in and out, and breathe out and come down. I'll again demonstrate it. Come on your elbows, breathe in and go back, and keep breathing in and out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and relax. Okay, so that was 3 to 5 times. Fish pose. Okay, Matsyasana. Okay, next you come on kneeling position. So you are here at the kneeling position, and you can just, I will take it some more far so that you can see me completely. So I am at the kneeling position, and initially what I will do is I will keep my hands on my waist. Okay, so I'll keep my hands on my waist. I will stay here, breathe in, and I go back. And I hold this pose. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and relax and come back. Okay? People who have vertigo, please don't do them because you may feel a lot of dizziness. So don't do that. Okay? Again, I will tell you, breathe in, take it back, and hold it there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and relax. So that is one way. The second way, when you are comfortable with the extension, you can actually use the yoga block to do a camel pose or a complete back extension. So you can either keep the yoga block like this, or you can keep it like this or like this, depending on basically how much is your, how much you can extend. Now, this is very easy for me. So maybe I will keep like this and both sides like this and keep it near your ankle. And take one hand back, breathe in, take other hand back and keep looking up and hold it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and relax. So you need a lot of back and core strength to do this. So if your back and core strength is less, then avoid doing this and just continue doing this. Okay, next is basically half kneel position. So you come in half kneeling position. Okay, that was basically camel pose or Utsyasana. Now your right leg is down, your left leg is up. You can do on both the sides, okay? And you will tuck your pelvis. Tuck your pelvis. As you tuck your pelvis, you will start feeling stretch on my right leg, okay? As I start feeling the stretch, I hold it there, breathe in, I take both my hands and I look up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and relax. Okay, never in yoga you will hold your breath. You are holding the position. We can do it from the other side also. Keep your right leg forward and tuck your pelvis immediately. There is a stretch here. Okay, breathe in. Go all the way back. Keep breathing in and out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and relax. Okay. Now you can also stand up. Okay. So you get up. Okay. And again, as I said, that it is very, very good if you do back bends. So you can actually breathe in, take both the hands up, breathe out, go as back as possible. Okay. And hold this pose. Hold it, hold it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and relax. Okay, now if you're not able to go back, you can even take help of the wall. So I will tell you how do you take help of your wall. So you're standing straight, you breathe in and you go back and keep both the hands on the wall and try to go as down as possible and hold it here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and relax. Okay, so you can use wall as one of the support. Okay, so all the asanas which has lot of back bends is what will activate your thyroid gland. So because we want to, it's hypoactive and we want to activate it. Another very good exercise is basically, or yoga pose is shoulder stand. Okay, shoulder stand is very, very good, but should not be done with people with acute back pain or people with less strength on their shoulder. So only people who have strength in their shoulder, no back pain and stuff should try doing this. Okay, and I will give you an alternative if you are not able to do a shoulder stand. So I will teach you how to do a shoulder stand. So you come down, lie down. Okay, I am serious. Okay, I need to always adjust my hair. Disadvantage of having long hair. Okay, now I am here. Either what I do is if I'm very uncomfortable, I breathe out, breathe in, and I bring both my legs up and I try to do in this position. Okay. Now, why both legs up is good for my thyroid is because the circulation from there keeps coming towards the upper body. So that is good for my thyroid. So the second way is when you can do a proper shoulder stand. So for doing a proper shoulder stand, you will actually take with a thrust. Okay, always remember you have to do it with the thrust. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, and I am not able to grip in this mat. So I will just remove this and now so hold it here and hold it for some time. Okay, you can even do halasana where you can try to take your legs as back as possible and hold it there. Okay, keep breathing in and out. Don't hold your breath ever. And keep breathing, keep breathing. You can even move around if you want. Move around any direction. And keep breathing. And slowly, vertebra by vertebra, vertebra by vertebra, vertebra by vertebra, you will come down and relax. Okay? Always remember you have to come vertebra by vertebra, one vertebra at a time. Don't just tuck. Don't do that. That's not good for your back. Okay, so that is shoulder stand. Now I am unable to do shoulder stand, and when I take my leg up, after 5 or 10 seconds, I am just unable to keep them up. Comes down. और मेरे पाँव में बहुत दर्द होता है, मैं हाथ में strength नहीं है. In that case, what you will do is you will take your leg against the wall. Okay, I will show you how. I will have to do a adjustment with my laptop so that you can see me. So I will bring the laptop here. 1 second. I will bring my laptop this side and I will go that side. So that you can see me perfectly. So back, you are here and I take my mat towards the wall. Now, how to do a legs against wall? What you have to do is you have to sit against the wall. So I'm sitting against the wall. So you have to sit against the wall, both your knee bent, both the knees bent. Okay, and we can do wall yoga. Okay, we can be doing wall yoga for 30 minutes. That improves the circulation even more. Okay. And I take my legs against the wall. Now for me, the muscles are loose and my back is completely rested on the ground. For some people, it is like this. The back is up. In that case, use a small pillow or roll a towel and keep it here. Okay, so you are here and you can actually breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. There's so many exercises I can do here, like breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. Hip flexion, knee flexion, your butterfly, and just opening it up. So not only it is good for your legs, it is also good for your hypothyroidism because you are in this position for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, maximum 30 minutes. You can even take the legs down and one leg up and hold it here. And similarly on the other side. Okay, so you can do many things here while you are here. Okay, be in any position. If not anything, just be like this. And you can do like, I can move my ankle and improve the circulation more on the lower side. So do anything, whatever you like, but be in this position for minimum 10 minutes, maximum 30 minutes, at least thrice in a week. Be in this position so that the circulation is more on the upper side. Okay. How do you get up from here? Again, the same thing. You turn to the side and you get up. Okay. So these are few exercises or few yoga poses which can help you in your hypothyroidism. Okay. Now there is one way. So I have always talked about importance of pranayama and meditation, and even pranayama and meditation hold a very important part in hypothyroidism as well. Because if you are stressed out, your thyroid is not going to get better. So you need to calm, you need to relax, and that will happen with meditation. You can try doing yoga nidra. There are a couple of videos available on yoga nidra, or just Shavasana for some time and connect with your breath. You can do in pranayama, one breath, which is very, very good, is ujjayi breath. Ujjayi breath actually activate your thyroid gland. So when you breathe in from the nose, you breathe out from the nose, right? But here, when we breathe in, we have to make it from the throat, okay, as if we are breathing in from here. So the sound will be different. Just pay attention here. So this is Ujjayi breath. You can do it for lower lobe, for middle lobe, for upper lobe. So each lobe, you can breathe around 20 breaths, each lobe. Here, keep your hand like this and Ujjayi breath. After 20, then you shift your hand here. And after 20, you shift your hand here 15 times. So this is how you can do a Ujjayi breath. The Ujjayi breath itself will take around 4 to 5 minutes. Okay? And it is very, very good, but you need to practice. Always remember, when you are doing Ujjayi breath, you need to feel the breath at the back of your throat, because we're trying to activate the thyroid gland, right? So back of your throat always, when you breathe in, when you breathe out. This is normal breath. This is Ujjayi breath. That's, see, immediately it has effect on the throat. Okay, so Ujjayi breath is very, very good for hypothyroidism. So completely do your yoga, do your aerobics, do your strength training, and always remember the mixed approach is the best approach, because you're trying to get something from everywhere. Okay, thank you so much. Dhanyavad.
Thank you, Dr. Pooja Pandey. Thank you very much. It's a wonderful session as usual. My basic question is, initially you said that you should have cardiovascular exercises and other things. So one doubt there is that should you do it on empty stomach, or should you have at least one plantain or something of that sort when you start the exercise?
So I would always prefer by starting with some fruit or at least some nuts. Okay, badam bhigo ke kha lijiye, ya methi bhigo ke kha lijiye. थोड़ा एक केला खा लीजिए, एप्पल खा लीजिए. So I always say that at least have something before you start.
Now, you said basically the idea of all these asanas that you showed is to improve the circulation to the top region. Is that right?
Yes.
And does Shirshasana have any role in this?
Yes, it does. It does. But most of the people are unable to do Shirshasana, right? It requires, and anybody who is already doing Shirshasana, I'm expecting that they don't have hypothyroidism.
Okay. Now, usually I was reminded of this Shirshasana because you did some wall exercise, wall support.
Yes.
Normally people who start Shirshasana take this wall support and then they do this particular exercise.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Another thing I wanted to ask you was, normally what happens is when there is pregnancy, doctors say you take complete rest, at least in the initial stages. But you are saying that it is okay, it is safe to do it during the first trimester and probably at second trimester. So what are the precautions that people should take when they start on this yoga? And is there any group who should avoid this particular thing?
So one is, if your gynecologist is telling that you are a high risk pregnancy and there are chances that, your baby or your uterus is too weak to carry the baby, then in that case, you definitely have to rest before your pregnancy. I always tell women whom I meet who are planning to get pregnant that you exercise for 6-7 months and then get pregnant, because that actually changes the physiology. Okay, now people who are already very fit, like for my second kid, I was only in my 12th week, I realized that I'm pregnant. I did not even realize I'm pregnant. And I was taking fitness classes, which is very, very high intensity. So because my body is already used to it, it did not, in my 5th month, I have run in Pinkathon 5 kilometers. So that is something which I could do because I was very, very active before my pregnancy. Okay. So it very much, if you are a lazy bum before your pregnancy and you have not moved your butt and suddenly you want to start because you've got pregnant, that is not a right approach. So first is you should be already active to start. If you were not active at all, then completely avoid it on the first trimester. Okay, completely. You can do these neck exercises and all that, or shoulder movement, all that you can do. But as such, any pressure on your abdomen or your back, you should avoid it. And then start from 2nd month and only under observation. So only under person who is expert in doing a prenatal, postnatal yoga, or Namazi expert, or a physiotherapist who already work with women health. So under her guidance or under his guidance, only they should be doing it.
In the initial, neck rolling exercise that you showed, is it okay if, what are the precautions that people who have vertigo should take?
So first is, if you are a vertigo patient, then you are already inverting and you are already, if you are stabilized and your symptoms are coming very less, then you can definitely do these exercises. then there are certain exercises for vertigo, like say Tataka, moving your eyeball and opposite way, which actually improves vertigo. And then you can coordinate that same thing with the neck movement. So do it if you are comfortable. There are many patients of mine who has vertigo patient, and they are okay now to do the neck exercises.
Over to you, Kishore, for your question.
थैंक यू सर. पूजा जी, मेरा एक सवाल है आपसे.
एक नहीं, 10 सवाल करिए.
आजकल देखा गया है कि यंग एज में थायराइड की समस्या बहुत बढ़ गई है.
हाँ,
और
बहुत ज्यादा.
और जो कम उम्र के बच्चे हैं वो जंक फूड खाना छोड़ते नहीं हैं.
हाँ.
और दवा पर रहते हैं, खास करके हाइपो, जिसमें वजन बढ़ता है.
हाँ.
मेरा आपसे सवाल ये है कि क्या योगासन से परमानेंट सोल्यूशन मिलेगा उनको?
योगासन, आप सवाल
या कोई तरीका है, या जीवन भर दवा पे रहना पड़ेगा?
नहीं, मेरी बहन ही बहुत बड़ा एग्जाम्पल है. मेरी बहन को हाइपोथायरॉयडिज्म था और वो गोलियां ले रही थी थायराइड की. हर सुबह लेना होता है एम्प्टी स्टमक. आपको सबसे पहले थायराइड की गोली लेनी है. एंड वन डे शी जस्ट टोल्ड मी कि वो दवाई खाना बंद करना चाहती है. तो आई सेड दैट then if you have to do that, your mind has to be very, very strong. Okay, because first and foremost is that it will not happen just with yoga or just with aerobics. मैंने थायराइड के लिए बोला आपको मिक्स अप्रोच लेना पड़ेगा. आपको हर चीज देखना पड़ेगा. आपको रात के 9:30-10 बजे लाइट ऑफ करनी पड़ेगी. ओके, आपको रोज सुबह 5:30 से 6 बजे उठना पड़ेगा. ओके, आपको उठते ही पानी पीना पड़ेगा. आपका बॉडी में हाइड्रेशन बहुत जरूरी है थायराइड है तो आपका अगर मेरा वजन 60-70 kg है तो मुझे 3 से 3.5 लीटर ऑफ पानी पीना ही पीना है. और शायद गर्मियों में मैं 4 लीटर. ओके, फिर आपको रॉ फूड अपने खाने में इंक्लूड करना पड़ेगा. मतलब मैं ये नहीं कह रही हूँ कि सिर्फ और सिर्फ रॉ फूड खाइए. थोड़ा सा दाल चावल खा रहे हैं तो साथ में इतना सैलेड भी खाइए, वेजिटेबल्स भी खाइए. इसमें जितना आपका फ्रूट रॉ फूड जाएगा ना उतना आपका बेटर होगा. ओके, जंक एब्सोल्युटली 0 हो जाना चाहिए, क्योंकि आप डेडिकेटेड हैं कि आप इसको निकालना चाहते हैं अपनी बॉडी से. तो जंक एकदम 0. और ये ओवर अ पीरियड ऑफ टाइम, मतलब 3-4 महीने जब आप रेगुलरली करेंगे, आप हर रोज कसरत कर रहे हैं, हर रोज योगा कर रहे हैं, या फिर एरोबिक कर रहे हैं, या फिर स्ट्रेंथ ट्रेनिंग कर रहे हैं, आप अपनी बॉडी को एक्टिव रख रहे हैं. मैंने खुद देखा है कि लोगों का थायराइड खत्म हो गया. आंवला रोज लें. आंवला इज वेरी वेरी गुड. तो आंवला जरूर लें, बिकॉज इट्स नॉट दैट इट इज स्पेसिफिकली फॉर हाइपोथायरॉयडिज्म. इट इम्प्रूव्स योर ओवरऑल इम्यूनिटी. सो रोज 1 या 2 आंवला जरूर खाए. तो दोपहर को खाने के बाद थोड़ा सा 2 आंवला खा के पानी पी ले, तो वो आप इंक्लूड कर सकते हैं. तो पूरा आपको ओवरऑल चेंज करना पड़ेगा. मतलब आपको एक योगा थेरेपिस्ट के साथ बैठना पड़ेगा, एक नेचुरोथेरेपिस्ट के साथ बैठना पड़ेगा, आपको अपनी डाइट पे कंट्रोल करना पड़ेगा, पानी अच्छे से पीना होगा. सब कुछ करेंगे तो डेफिनेटली आप रिवर्स कर सकते हैं.
थैंक यू पूजा जी. ओवर टू मिस्टर शंकर.
Thank you, Dr. Pooja. This Avla in English, can you mention to our viewers what exactly it is?
Avla in English is also Avla. AMLA in
Amla. Okay. Gooseberry.
Yes.
Gooseberry.
Yes. Gooseberry. Yes.
Thank you. It's wonderful having you, Dr. Pooja Pandey. And sometimes what I do is I correct my watch based on when you stop, because you stop at the exact time, because you are known for your time management. So I just corrected my the clock on my mobile phone.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Wonderful having you.
Thank you.
We move on to the first quiz now. Now, the first quiz is, how many koshas or do humans have as per yogic system? A, 2, B, 3, C, 4, and D, 5. I'll repeat the question. How many koshas do you have according to the human system? Thank you very much. And now over to you, Kishore.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. और अब वक्त है हमारे पॉपुलर सेगमेंट योर हेल्थ काउंटर का. आज का टॉपिक है क्रोनिकल्स ऑफ कोविड-19 पेंडेमिक, Third Eye Perspective with Dr. Amitabh Banerjee. Dr. Amitabh Banerjee डॉक्टर DY मेडिकल कॉलेज पुणे में प्रोफेसर और कम्युनिटी मेडिसिन के हेड हैं। इससे पहले वो इंडियन आर्म फोर्सेस में मेडिकल ऑफिसर और आर्म फोर्सेस मेडिकल कॉलेज पुणे में कम्युनिटी मेडिसिन में एसोसिएट प्रोफेसर रह चुके हैं। डॉक्टर अमिताभ बैनर्जी का हम अपने शो में स्वागत करते हैं। वेलकम डॉक्टर बैनर्जी।
धन्यवाद मिस्टर किशोर एंड इट्स अ प्लेजर। हमको काफी खुशी होती है इस प्लेटफॉर्म में आप लोगों के साथ इंटरैक्शन करने के लिए।
थैंक यू सर। डॉक्टर अमिताभ बैनर्जी से बातचीत करेंगे हील फाउंडेशन के प्रेसिडेंट मिस्टर आर शंकर। मिस्टर शंकर का जर्नलिज्म में 30 साल से ज्यादा का अनुभव है। वह हील फाउंडेशन ऑर्गेनाइजिंग कमेटी के हेल्थ राइटर्स और एडिटर्स कन्वेंशन के चेयरमैन भी हैं। वो न्यू इंडियन एक्सप्रेस, कर्नाटका और केरला के रेजिडेंट एडिटर भी रह चुके हैं। ओवर टू यू मिस्टर शंकर।
Thank you, Kishore. Thank you. It is always wonderful to have Dr. Amitabh Banerjee on the show. And he's known for his free, frank, and candid views on COVID-19 and other issues. Of course, as he always says, with evidence. Now, the topic for today's Your Health Counter is COVID-19 pandemic, third eye perspective. Somewhat similar to the title of your book called COVID-19 Pandemic, a Third Eye. I think that's there in your background now. The cover of the book is there on your background. Yeah. So I think it's a coincidence. I shall come back to your book later, of course. But first, looking back at the past 2 years of the pandemic, can you tell us what did India do right? Three right things that we did and 3 mistakes that we did.
It's a difficult question.
I love asking you difficult questions, Dr. Banerjee.
So, opening ball is bouncer. Anyway, so I think, shall we start with the right things first? Actually,
Sure. Go ahead.
That is a more difficult question, actually.
I knew I would catch you there because you always pointed out the wrong things. So I wanted the right things first.
So right things means the whole world. I mean, 3 right things for the whole world would be difficult to really think about. I have to really scratch my head. I think right thing, let us see how it happened. The pandemic started in China, so then it went to Italy, then the lockdown, and then there was a panic. So right thing was, of course, initially the lockdown was announced for 2 weeks. I mean, that is the only right thing, I think, which was overwhelming the hospital services. That also is debatable. I mean, that is partly right because it did not really check the transmission. And I would say the wrong thing India did was follow the West, follow the WHO and follow the CDC, because the data from the Western countries could not be extrapolated to a country with different demography. And it did the right thing. I mean, I wouldn't say it did the right thing, but it had the right intentions. I mean, it was an act of, I would say, omission rather than commission. And it did everything right in good faith as per the guidelines of the I wouldn't say WHO or CDC, as per the Western countries, what they were doing. And as per the guidelines from USA, the signals from USA, I would say, because that's a bellwether of the global policy. And I have seen whenever one follows the USA, you land in chaos, whether it is in war or in pandemic. So I think it has, the right thing was trying to, I wouldn't say right, but right intentions was trying to prevent the pandemic taking roots in India. So with right intentions, our Prime Minister announced on 24th March total lockdown. So that was a right intention, but that was something which ultimately turned out to be the wrong thing. So there is, this is such a difficult situation, pandemic, that with every right thing, there is a wrong thing. I mean, the right and wrong are not in black and white. So it is the degree of wrongness and the degree of rightness. So it would be very difficult to 1, 2, 3, because I can make 10 things which have something right in it and something wrong in it. So, I mean, like the second was the vaccine. something is right in the vaccine, like vaccine can prevent severe disease and death, particularly for the elderly. And the wrong thing is that you have to use it judiciously. So rolling out in a haste across the young people who are not without proper risk benefit evaluation is not very right, I would say. Yeah, I wouldn't say it is wrong and right. As I said, in this complex things, actually the world tried, and India also tried to make decisions on black and white. So that nuanced decisions were missing. Taking each situation is different, each region is different. So there was something right and something wrong, and some states did something right in the beginning, and subsequently it turned out to be not very right. Like those states which fared well in the initial phase, like Kerala and all, they lagged in the later phase. I mean, the intentions were right to check the spread of transmission, but once the community transmission had taken place, and that was another major wrong thing the country did, not accepting there is community transmission. Because if you accept community transmission, you could have saved a lot of resources in chasing the virus, which was futile because it spreads very rapidly. You could have focused more on treating the really people who require treatment, that is the moderately ill and those who are having severe disease. So you could have concentrated resources that way instead of so there were a lot. I mean, it's a global chaos actually. I wouldn't say India or any country. There were only one country which did right, two countries like Sweden, but they were told that they are doing wrong in the beginning because there was those mathematical models which took things, like human beings as inert units rather than social beings. So that was the too much of tunnel vision, too much of piecemeal solutions. The world did not get it right, except for a few countries like I would say Sweden and to some extent Japan. Japan also did not have a lockdown, and Belarus. So actually, some sort of inactivity was the right thing, and focused protection, which of course Sweden also did things very wrong. It could not avoid the virus running through the nursing homes. Actually, that they overlooked, and they accepted also that they forgot. I mean, they lapsed in trying to prevent because the nursing home initial deaths in Sweden were in the elderly in the nursing homes. Actually, the caretakers were coming from the community. If they could have also been isolated with the nursing home people, they admitted they could have saved a lot of mortality. But subsequently, they got it right.
Now, looking back, the last pandemic, that is plague pandemic, organizations like the World Health Organizations did pretty good job. That's what we are told as per reported data. Now, how do you view, would you view the role played by WHO in kinder light, or did they fail?
WHO this time didn't get it right. WHO got it right earlier. WHO did not get it right because, and WHO also flip-flopped. So that flip-flop itself causes lack of trust. In fact, when the Wuhan was affected, China locked down Hubei. It locked down only one district. And the WHO came down heavily on China. It said that this is unscientific and WHO never recommends. The Western press also said it is authoritarian. And it criticized, the WHO criticized. I have got the evidence on it. And but subsequently, Italy did the countrywide lockdown. Again, they got it wrong because Italy, they have a very elderly population. And again, Italy, the pandemic hit the nursing homes. Average age of death in Italy was 80 years. And that had a very high, particularly case fatality in hospitals. In fact, one initial paper gave out the case fatality as 20%. So that was alarming, and the models took this as a year and predicted a catastrophe for the whole world. And the WHO did not have a proper surveillance system to really cross-check this and see the finer points, the demographic profile and who are dying. So it was a chaotic. And so WHO failed miserably in this pandemic. And it continues. I mean, then regarding other thing also, it flip-flopped. Initially, it gave that surface transmission is a risk. Subsequently, there are a lot of sanitization and other things, surface transmission spray. So, and then about mask also, it kept flip-flopping. It kept flip-flopping about asymptomatic transmission. It kept on denying or downplaying rather. After recovery from natural infection, the herd immunity, the natural immunity, it kept downplaying. And I don't find much professionalism this time in the WHO, the way WHO gave the leadership.
That is quite a frank statement. That's what we appreciate from you, I think. And the next question is, I vividly remember in the initial episode of Health4All, you had created a flutter by saying that lockdowns do not serve any purpose. And in the same episode, you had mentioned that the way out is to attain herd immunity. What is your current views on herd immunity?
The data reinforces those views. If you see the worldometer data, it is in the public domain. Like those countries, there's a published study also that data from 68 countries and 2947 American counties, they tried to correlate the premise was, while denying, those who are denying herd immunity, their premise was it is only vaccine which can achieve herd immunity. Herd immunity can be achieved either by recovery after natural infection and by vaccination. So their premise was that vaccine is the only panacea which will achieve herd immunity. But the recent data, it is available in the public domain from 68 countries and 2947, there's a published paper on it. It does not show any correlation with the level of population level immunization and the trends and the mortality from COVID-19. And you can have a look, even if you just have a quick glance at the worldometer data, you see this heavily vaccinated countries like Israel, they were into the 4th dose. They are having a peak. They had rather, after the peak, it comes down naturally, because even if the vaccine fails, large number of people get infected and ipso facto, they get the herd immunity from natural infection. Some due to vaccine immunity and more strongly due to the natural infection. And then subsequently studies from Israel, it has established that the natural infection gives 13 to 27 times more robust immunity than vaccine-induced immunity. So these are scientific papers and established evidence. And grudgingly, the CDC also after 2 years grudgingly admitted that herd immunity or natural immunity is stronger than vaccine-induced immunity. And the data is also showing, I am being very closely following Sri Lanka, Pakistan, Bangladesh, or neighboring countries, because I never believed from the beginning that we should extrapolate from the Western Hemisphere, because the demography is different. Their obesity rates, I found a very strong correlation with the obesity. They are 3 times more obese than us. So I thought we should take, and their population density is much less. We have got a very high, 10 times more population density, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka. So I took similar countries, I was following the data. Sri Lanka was doing very well till March 2021. And after the vaccine rollout, they started having higher cases and higher deaths. It is in the worldometer. I have just recently brought out an editorial on it, that COVID-19 mass vaccination, how much impact at population level. This is the title. And Sri Lanka is showing higher number of cases as well as later deaths. Similarly with Malaysia. Similarly with South Korea. South Korea is another example, which did very well in the beginning, like Kerala did in our country. At international level, South Korea could control it by population restrictions, lockdowns, or whatever you can call it. So the more you keep people separate, the more you delay the natural immunity, and vaccine immunity wanes after 3 months, 4 months. The vaccine immunity wanes, and then the cases rise, and subsequently, after some more time, the deaths also rise. So there is example from Sri Lanka. Malaysia is also having the similar. Japan is also very, very interesting. It was having a very low, because I was also vaccinated in Japan throughout the pandemic. I was observing the data, because Japan has got a higher age than the Western countries also. So we would presume that they will have high mortality, but they always had a very low mortality. Even lower mortality among the Asian countries Japan was having. And we found out that their obesity was very less, 1/3 of the Western countries. So obesity was the biggest predictor. And after the vaccine rollout, they had a spike in the cases as well as the death. So something very strange is happening. So either vaccine, and they have also accepted that the vaccination is not preventing the transmission. Transmission is continuing, and that transmission may give rise to the natural infection and some level of herd immunity. So these are again, as it is, pandemics are complex things, and the policies, the global policies, have made it more complex. So now it is very difficult to really, tease out what's happening, because you are rolling out a mass vaccination in country after country. What happens? You are not having this is experimental going on. You should have a control group. Some districts could have been kept as controls, that we will never know what's happening.
Yeah. Apart from Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Malaysia, and Japan.
Bangladesh, Pakistan is doing very well. I mean, I forgot to, because they have got a lesser vaccination coverage, but because of the dense population, the virus must have run through them.
Okay.
With the minimum casualties and minimum deaths because of the younger population.
You mean to say they had a lot of natural immunity?
Natural immunity. Same thing in Africa. Africa is having, most of the African continents, if you see, their vaccination coverage is less than 3%. Most of the countries in Africa, except for South Africa, it has got 30% vaccination coverage, but it has got the 4-digit mortality compared to 1 or 2-digit mortality in countries which have got 1 or 2% vaccination coverage. So South Africa is a higher vaccination coverage. But what is different in South Africa? South Africa, the obesity rates are more or less similar to the Western countries. Other African countries are very, very lean. But South Africa, and then subsequently there are studies also that if you can control your obesity, control of obesity gives you 70-80% protection from the severe COVID and death. So the vaccine immunity, they claim 90%, but after 6 months, it is 30%. So obesity, if you control obesity, that gives you a better, perhaps, it's acting as a vaccine or a natural overall health. That's why I like this platform where you promote overall health with yoga and diet and other things, that they are on the right path.
Yeah. And apart from that, you did something with Brazil also, Brazil and Israel.
Thank you, Shankar, for bringing that out. Brazil is also a country in South America which is having a younger population, 30. We expect a lower mortality, but their obesity is almost 60%. I mean, overweight percentage, a BMI above 25. So their obesity is in par with the Western countries, and they've fared very badly in later part of the pandemic. Initially, they did not have much transmission perhaps, but once the virus hit Brazil, it really caused mayhem there, because they are very obese people. In fact, I wrote on those lines, and I got some doctor communicated with me on the LinkedIn, and she says, you are very right. Whatever patients I am seeing in hospitals in severe condition, 90% are very obese people. So she also was very fascinated when I sitting in other part of the world, just looking at the data. She was looking at the patient, I was looking at the data, and the jigsaw puzzle fell in place.
So obesity is a big factor. I'll come back to another question. You had of course, you have partially answered this, but I'll go into more detail. You have recently tweeted your study titled COVID-19 Mass Vaccination, How Much Impact at Population Level. In this, you had said the patterns or trends and deaths from COVID-19 before and after vaccine rollout is not encouraging. And then you left it to the readers to infer conclusion. What is your viewpoint? Of course, you had said that halfway into 2021, there was a sobering realization that impact of mass vaccination at population level was rather modest.
So you want my take on it?
Yeah, you had left it to the viewers to conclude, but I want to know what is your conclusion.
Yeah, in fact, the same thing was asked to me just a couple of days back. There was a filmmaker from Germany, Robert Sibis. So I was discussing this day before yesterday only in his studio at Mumbai. So he was trying to act as a devil's advocate. When I presented this data, my editorial, he was trying to give a devil's advocate, and I thought he has stumped me, but I mean, he has cornered me. Then I got a quick, I thought on my feet, though while I was sitting, I could think on my feet. I was showing the same data, I was showing Japan data before vaccination, post, and similarly. Then I was comparing UK and USA. Then he says, "Oh, you can't compare. I'm acting as a devil's advocate. There may be different system of health. Some have very good health services. Some have poor data collection. So one country data you cannot compare with other countries. So you cannot come to this." He told me that you answer my question. I am taking this way. That then suddenly I got an inspiration. I said, "Yeah, but I am comparing Sri Lanka with Sri Lanka. Before the vaccine, after the vaccine. So whatever deficiencies in data collection Sri Lanka had before vaccination, presume. Similarly, Malaysia before, after, Africa before, after." So then I said, yes, that is good. Then he was very fascinated. Then he made me talk on that and he recorded it. Let us see. He says, "This is very fascinating." And I said, "This is something which a high school student can also infer from it." So we have to, what is that it has been a quite, anticlimax, because everyone was led to believe that, now we have got the vaccine and everything will come to normal. And after the vaccine, there is more chaos. First, you forget about the side effects. I'm not talking about the side effects. I'm not talking of the long-term adverse effects. I'm talking of the economy scale, the amount of money which is invested. And if you don't get the return for that, you are draining away from the other. As it is, you have had so many draconian measures like lockdown and other things, which has really, Sri Lanka has got into bankruptcy. Other countries may follow suit. So that may again increase the other diseases, diseases like malnutrition. Already 2,000 children die in India daily, and other diseases of poverty, tuberculosis. So this is a concern that, public health should not be only one disease. Public health should be other diseases also.
I will take forward from what I think Dr. Sibis had said, but you have not answered my question about what is your conclusion on this. And also, what do you have to say about India?
I would say the best thing would have been to preserve a vaccine in those countries like poor countries like India or Sri Lanka, preserve the vaccine for the elderly and those who have got comorbidities. As I would call it, focused vaccination rather than mass rollout. And as it is, we had done zero surveys in India and other countries also. We had got almost 80% of below 18 years in many parts of the country are having antibodies, natural immunity. That was before the vaccine rollout. So you cannot say this. So spare the young people. You would have saved vaccines, and even adults who have got a positive RT-PCR in the past 6 months. Everybody must have done number of RT-PCR because of travel, other things. So anybody who had a positive RT-PCR in the past 1 year or 2 years could have been excluded from vaccination. That would have saved the vaccine. And another concern is that this type of thing requires investigation. My take on it is, like after the vaccination, why there is a spike. There have been certain virologists who had concerns that it may give rise to mutations. The new mutations are escaping. So the vaccine pressure can also bring mutations. So mass scale vaccination in a pandemic has never been advocated earlier, never been done earlier on such a large scale. So I have a concern that this may be either due to the new mutations or more. Another serious concern is sometimes that too much of antigenic stimulation can cause a phenomenon known as antibody-dependent enhancement, where it can precipitate the disease, severe disease. So that requires proper research. Actually, we are not doing proper research. We are not considering these questions. So this is something which we should.
Do you think, in this context, the rollout that is starting from today, the paid vaccination, is also not a focused vaccination?
Paid vaccination?
Yeah, that is starting from today for anyone between 18 and that is not vaccination, the booster dose.
Precautionary dose. Yes. It's not required, actually.
It can be only for people who are comorbid rather than mass vaccination.
Certainly, it should not be rolled out at a small scale. There are Western countries are doing it, but they are not doing it correctly. There are concerns because if you see, particularly in young people, there have been increase in myocarditis from the baseline level in the Western countries. And in our country also, there have been particularly some vaccines are causing the clots and other things in younger people. So, and younger people at almost negligible risk. particularly those who have recovered. And most of our people, we can take it that they have faced a natural infection. So we have a very strong, robust immunity. And I think that is the only thing that after mass rollout vaccination, we are not having a spike, because it is a prior natural immunity which is saving us compared to the Western countries, which are not so dense. And they are having much less natural immunity, like 25 or 30%. We are having 80% plus.
I'll come back to your article in that you went on to say that given the uncertainties, it is not fair to shame or stigmatize those who refuse to take vaccination. Can you throw some more light?
Definitely, because the way it has been stigmatized from the very beginning. I mean, it started anyone working in a hospital was stigmatized in spite of the thalis and other things. But once they came back to their own colony, they were stigmatized and not allowed. So in doctors or paramedical. So stigma has been a continuous, and shaming has been then after them, masking became a stigmatizing, and then anybody died in the family, the family was stigmatized. So it was very unfortunate that we could not tackle this stigma from the very beginning. Now, after the vaccine rollout, the people who refused the vaccine were getting stigmatized. That would have been justified if the vaccine had prevented the transmission. But subsequently, the vaccine manufacturer also considered, in WHO, CDC considered that it does not prevent transmission. They said that it prevents severe death and hospitalization. So once, if it doesn't prevent transmission, a vaccinated person is also spreading the infection. So there is no scientific background to stigmatize a person who is not taken the vaccine. In fact, they have done studies and found the person who has recovered from natural infection has got more, they cannot transmit. I mean, they transmit less than those vaccinated person who. So particularly in our country, 80% of people have faced the infection. So practically everybody, so this vaccine will not give much benefit. And had they kept a control group, we would have had a very clear answer. So unfortunately, the control group is not being kept here. Everybody is, and actually on paper, and even the affidavit given by the central government to Supreme Court says that vaccination is totally voluntary. And once it is voluntary, and then the second line says that everybody, all states should ensure 100% vaccination. So, I mean, on one hand, it's saying voluntary, then on the other hand, the guidelines goes down that ensure 100%. I mean, it's something like a catch-22 situation. The whole pandemic has been a catch-22.
Has any country kept a control group? It's a very important point that you raised, because you should have a control group to know what exactly is happening. Did any country do this?
No, I don't think so. The only way has been that some countries are under-vaccinated, countries after countries. So that is the only control group. Like African continents have got less than 5% vaccination coverage. And Bangladesh perhaps 40% vaccination. That's also pretty high. But the African, then they were trying to roll out vaccine there also. But they should keep some control group. And it's difficult.
Yeah.
Because then they will say that they have got different, Africa is being because of obesity and age and other things. So control groups should be randomized, proper cluster randomized trials could have been done. I mean, it's quite very, very puzzling how there has been no science in this pandemic.
Quite true. Very true. Very true. I think this is a very important point that you raised, because unless you have a control group, you do not know how exactly things work. And it should be based on population, the age factor, the comorbidity factors. All this should have been really taken into consideration. Now, what are your views on long COVID? Some say that long COVID may last up to 3 months, while others say it is 6 months. Some say it is 2 years. So what is your view?
Again, they should have a control group. I mean, why I'm saying is a very good question. You see, the way the things are, floated, that there is long COVID. And the whole pandemic has caused, as we also remarked earlier, mass psychosis, mass obsessive compulsive disorder. So everybody has become neurotic. So a person who believes in long COVID, he has recovered from COVID. Suddenly he reads about or hears about long COVID. So after 1 month, even if he gets a severe headache, he will attend him, I had a COVID, this is long COVID. He has some other lung, he may have air pollution in between, he may have some other infection. How do you tease out that in the interim, that person has not been exposed to some other pathogen or some other year? So everything is attributed to that. That's a bias. So that's why I said you should have a control group. How do you have a control group in this? Again, it's difficult because anyone who has got a COVID, he will remember. So you can have a person who has antibody positive, showing that he has had or she has had past infection, but that person has never had symptoms. And ideally, that person should not know that he or she has got positive. They could design that experiment and follow them forward, and those people who have never had that. So that would be one way of doing it. Otherwise, it would be very messy. Everything would be attributed to long COVID, because you see, after any viral infection, even if you get influenza for a month or 2 months, there is weakness, there is fatigue, there may be sometimes very very severe cough prolonging. Every viral infection gives a chikungunya, anything. So it's a normal phenomenon. Giving it special status makes it more complicated.
Yeah, I think long COVID is becoming a very mysterious genie, because, as you said earlier, you tend to blame everything on a long COVID without teasing out the facts. Again,
you require a control group, and anything is attributed. And this is, you are playing with it is, everybody wants to make a profit, but you should not make a profit, you should make scientific profit based on science. You should not make profit. Then there is no difference between science and quackery. As it is, this rollout, I bluntly call it public health quackery, mass rollout of a vaccine, where you see the figure also, statistics also, the figure, young person, the mortality is 0.001. Below 18 years or even below, up to 69 years, the mortality is less than 0.5%, even those who get it. So no other communicable disease in our country has got even after treatment, so low mortality. So rolling out a vaccine in desperation and in mass against, and that vaccine which is not giving good results also, as from the data at the population level. I just don't understand what's happening.
Yeah, very, very, very difficult. But I like what you said, scientific profit. That's a thing that we should really look forward to. Now, some say that India can expect a fourth wave sometime in August, considering the rising number of cases, again, the Western that are European countries. What's your viewpoint?
My first question is, where is the third wave? Everybody is conveniently forgetting the third wave. I don't know. Either they don't know how to count.
So what wave are we in now?
No, I am still waiting for the third wave. I don't know. That same mathematical modeler had predicted a third wave, where the pediatric ICU will be full, where daily there will be 1 lakh death or something like that, 1 lakh cases. So where is the third wave? You see, Mr. Sankar, this is just I don't know. You keep, after the fourth wave doesn't come, you will be waiting for the fifth wave. It has got no meaning. I have just read that paper, and that paper has taken something from Ireland or something from some country in the north, and they took the graph as if, some sort of and then they predicted, which again, their countries are different than our country. Overlooking that, 80%, 90% of our people have developed natural immunity. Those countries are very scarcely populated country. They will get the up and down. It's something like voltage fluctuation. You see, if you have an unstable electric supply, you get a huge voltage fluctuation. We have got a stable equilibrium now, because the majority of our population have got natural. So we won't have any waves. We may have a few ripples. That too, if you keep looking for it, if you keep poking your swab into the throats, you may get, you can start looking for other pathogens also, you will find more. Never in history of public health, you have just put on the basis of a RT-PCR test which picks up a fossil of a virus and label it as a case. The case definition itself is debatable. So that way, there will be no third wave, there won't be any fourth wave.
So I will reframe my question and ask, when is the next wave expected? Or will it be only a ripple, not a wave?
It will be a ripple. It will be a ripple. All said and done, particularly in our country. You see, the more you try to suppress it, the more you delay it. A large number of people are susceptible. So in our country, we could not delay it because it spread through. Other countries, and these are normal occurrences, seasonal. In the northern hemisphere, they get the winter surges. And this happens with all viruses, respiratory viruses. So this is the first time you are keeping a scoreboard. And this is the first time you are testing so many asymptomatic. Even the earlier influenza pandemic, asymptomatics were not tested. We did not get the daily statistics. So the daily statistics can make us fearful of anything. I mean, we are having waves and waves of tuberculosis and traffic accidents and other things. So these, first they should sort out the case definition. First, they should sort out the death certification. We die 25,000 deaths every day in India. There are so many pathogens in the throat, in the skin, in the gut. If you take out any one isolation, you go after one pathogen, you can create a wave by the statistics.
Yeah. Now, I'll also ask you, of course, you mentioned this earlier also. From today, private booster doses are being made available, but people have to pay. But what about those who are comorbid but cannot afford the booster doses? Of course, it was initially kept at 750, now it is somewhere 250. Is it okay if you forget about it because you have said that there is no data to prove that it is okay?
Definitely. In fact, they can sometimes in India, even those who are comorbid and they are still survived, that means they must have faced a natural infection. And 2 doses should be sufficient. And how long? How long you will give a precautionary dose? Like you give a precautionary dose today, like Israel has given the third booster. Now it is going for the 4th dose also. Then it fails again. So every 3 months, every 6 months, and that too, if you are thinking of mass vaccination, it is a very foolish public health policy. At huge resources, if you have to repeat mass vaccination. Have you ever heard of a vaccine which has to be given so frequently in a year, 2 or 3 boosters? And for a disease with such low mortality. And if a person who has got comorbidity, I would suggest to take care of the comorbidity. Take care of his diabetes or hypertension or...
Yeah, studies have also indicated that a different booster dose increases protection for those double dosed with viral vector and inactivated vaccines. With the vaccine bouquet growing, including a potential mRNA vaccine, are mix and match boosters a way forward? Of course, you have spoken about vaccination, but still, what's the answer?
This is, I am more concerned about this mix and match because you won't be, if there is any side effect, whom do you blame? If there is any side effect, no company will claim, they will blame the other person's vaccine. As it is, you have made the evidence weak. By mix and match, you are still tampering with evidence. I would call it tampering with evidence. First, you didn't have a control group. You wouldn't know whether vaccine is working. Now you are doing mix and match. You wouldn't know which vaccine is causing harm.
I think there was a study from Vellore.
That studies they can do, they can just do the surrogate measure, the antibody spike. But how most of the vaccines, they have done a surrogate measure, their endpoint has not been severe disease or death, endpoint has been the response to antibody. So response to antibody is just a very surrogate marker. Their actual long-term immunity is given by the T cells and other immune system, part of the immune system, memory cells. So this is a very poor marker of immunity.
So now another question is, recently there was a stir over the XC variant, the Z variant. What is your viewpoint on this?
My viewpoint is that whatever subsequent variants come, they are weaker than the initial variant because the virus is also trying to adapt. So this, I have been telling earlier also that those viruses which are more lethal, which cause symptoms, they lose in the selection. They lose out on the selection. And only mild variants will survive. And even a person who has recovered from a natural infection, because however, how much the mutation, the virus cannot mutate than 1 or 2%. The 99% of the epitopes remain the same, the nuclear, the bases. So it doesn't, but if a vaccine are part of the year, like spike protein, like the Omicron, the spike protein, there were 30 or 40 mutations in the spike protein. And most of the vaccines targeted as spike protein, the Omicron will escape. So therefore, the chances of escape is more with a vaccine than person who has recovered from natural infection, where the body is exposed to the whole virus. So that's the very reason. I mean, these are common sense things, and that's why the studies also show 13 to 27 times more robust immunity from natural infection. So by and large, even after vaccine failure, we will get natural immunity because the vaccine is leaky, transmission has taken place. So the cases will come down, the deaths will come down, and even if there are mutations, it won't affect much.
And now I'll come to some lighter aspect. From being a professor, a researcher, a commentator, you wear multiple hats. The latest being as an actor.
Yeah,
you're featuring in a documentary. Of course, I won't bracket you with the Bollywood acting, but you are now featuring in a documentary on Corona along with Professor Raman of IIT Mumbai and Robert Sibis of Germany. Can you shed some light on your role in the documentary and what it is all about?
In fact, I would go a step further. I mean, I would go into commercial movie also. I mean, not only Bollywood, I may just hit Hollywood directly. You see, I suppose speaking with the director, Robert Sibis, and he is not only a documentary filmmaker, he also makes theatrical movies also. And I mean, it was a coincidence. I don't know whether it's a compliment. In fact, when I was young, The Godfather came out. And my friend told me, you look like Marlon Brando. So I didn't take it because that time I was young. I said, I thought I am James Bond. How are you calling me Marlon? I used to think I am Sean Connery that time. So now he said, you look more like Marlon Brando. You have got those, whatever, I don't know what angle he was seeing. So this time I told him, then in this debut yesterday, he says, I am thinking of making a movie on this pandemic and something like a parody of Godfather. And I said, can I fit the role? He said, yes, you can fit the role. I said, I have been preparing a lifetime for this role. So I may turn out to be the Godfather remake. So anyway, this is a movie. He's collecting this Robert Sibis. Presently, is making a documentary. He has been traveling all over the world, trying to get the full 360 degrees story, Corona story. And we had a whole day, almost whole day. We interacted, and he was trying to get the feel of the experts. And then he is also aware, and it's a global phenomena. That most of the experts who are, those who are young, those who are in, say, government service, those who are in academics, most of these experts, they have to play with a straight bat. I mean, if you know what I mean, they can't disclose much because there is because initially it was okay when it is something like a war. In a war, there is censorship because you have to get everything focused. You have to mobilize everything for finishing off whatever the threat is there, the enemy or the virus or whatever. So there is no questioning is permitted. That could have been okay if we could have finished it off in the first few months or 6 months or 1 year. But now the damn thing is dragging almost 2 years. So now things are not working. So now there should be questioning of the mainstream policy, that where you got things wrong, then that's how you can get science together, act together, which is still not happening because there's a lot of pressure. Even the media is under pressure, and that thing is continuing. I mean, it has become a marathon. So this Robert Sibis is an independent movie maker. He wants to get all the evidence. So this is more or less the same thing as we are discussing today. We were discussing like that, and he just recorded it. So will
it be something like the Contagion 2?
No, it's not that exciting. In fact, we discussed Contagion also. Okay. I mean, the real life is not that exciting. Actually, that is the problem. Now we are trying to make real life exciting, and we have landed ourselves in a mess. Because the people have seen Contagion. We discussed it yesterday. It was very easy to create that mass psychosis, or it may not have been deliberate. It willy-nilly, there is a mass psychosis, but everybody and the scientists and the media, they tried from the real pandemic, they tried to make it a fictitious pandemic like Contagion. Like you have a virus, you have and the vaccine is a savior. So the same script, we tried to put it in the real life, and real life is very messy. And this pandemic has proved it That real life is really messy. Similarly, like war, I have been in the armed forces. Real war is very messy. In fact, I was near death twice in my army career, and both of the time I would have been killed by friendly action only, by some mix-up.
Friendly fire.
Friendly fire. Once I was almost run over by a patent tank, and second time I was in a crossfire that two body of troops were firing at each other, thinking enemy, and I was, so that luckily there were no casualty, but it could happen.
But I think apart from all that, there could be an independent movie on your life itself. I think there's quite a lot of exciting things that have happened. But all the same, I wish you all, rather Health4All and Heal Foundation, wish you all for your role in Hollywood. And we also wish that one day we would see you with the Oscar for your acting skill. Thank you very much. It was wonderful having you with us.
Thank you.
But even in midst of this Hollywood, I hope you will have time for Health4All debate.
I would like the announce to the audience that this book, COVID-19 Pandemic Third Eye, is available on Amazon.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
So they should book their copies today, because another news I want to give is this Robert Sibis. He offered to buy the rights of this book and publish it from Europe. He has also got a publication out. So once it starts getting published from Europe, the cost will go very high. So better they buy the Indian edition first rather than the European edition.
Thank you very much. It was wonderful having you. And please stay on with us so that next session is also equally interesting. We now have the session intro video. Thank you very much, Dr. Amita. It's wonderful talking with you. Welcome back. We now have Healthnama, a popular health capsule on current issues put together by my co-moderator, Kishore Malviya. This episode will be on long COVID and will be a sort of intro to the session that is to follow. Over to Healthnama.
नमस्कार। हेल्थनामा में आज हम बात करेंगे लॉन्ग कोविड की। बहुत से लोगों में ये पाया गया है कि कोविड इन्फेक्शन से ठीक हो जाने के बाद भी उनमें कोविड का प्रभाव किसी न किसी रूप में रहता है और ये लंबे समय तक रहता है, इसलिए इसे लॉन्ग कोविड का नाम दिया गया है। हमने अलग अलग क्षेत्रों के मेडिकल एक्सपर्ट से जानने की कोशिश की है कि आखिर लॉन्ग कोविड शरीर के किस अंग को सबसे ज़्यादा प्रभावित करता है और ऐसी स्थिति में मरीज को क्या करना चाहिए। डॉक्टरों से विस्तृत बातचीत के आधार पर तैयार है ये हेल्थनामा, जो आपके लिए सूचना और जानकारी से भरपूर है। कोविड के काफ़ी मरीजों में ये देखा गया है कि उनकी रिपोर्ट नेगेटिव आने के बावजूद वे हार्ट या लंग की बीमारियों से ग्रस्त हैं। कोविड से ठीक होने के कई सप्ताह बाद भी वे हार्ट अटैक के शिकार हो जाते हैं। इनमें पुरुष ज़्यादा हैं। हालांकि महिलाओं में भी ये समस्या देखी गई है, पर उनमें कार्डियोवास्कुलर डिजीज़ के सिम्टम्स दिख जाते हैं। कईयों में तो ये समस्या कोविड से रिकवरी के 6 महीने बाद भी पाई गई। बिना किसी वार्निंग सिम्टम्स के हार्ट अटैक के मामले काफ़ी बढ़ गए हैं।
कि लॉन्ग कोविड जिसे हम कह रहे हैं और ऑर्गन डैमेज जो है, इसकी संभावना है, डेफिनेटली है। और सेकेंड वेव में जो डेल्टा था उसके साथ बहुत ज़्यादा हुई। एग्जैक्ट स्टैटिस्टिक्स डिफरेंट स्टडीज़ में डिफरेंट आए हैं। कितने लोगों को लॉन्ग कोविड हुआ है, स्टडीज स्टिल ऑन है। WHO की यूनिटी प्रोटोकॉल्स भी इस पर चली हैं और ये संभावना तो रहती है क्योंकि ये मल्टी ऑर्गन डैमेज कर रहा है। इसका जैसे पैनक्रियास में भी पता लगा है, तो डायबिटीज़ जो हो रही है वो काफ़ी लोगों को हुई है, स्टीरॉइड्स देने के बाद हुई है। हार्ट का जो इफेक्ट है वो भी अब काफ़ी पता लगा है कि हो रहा है। अब ये जो मल्टी ऑर्गन डैमेज है, ये तो इसका एक नेचर है और ये इवॉल्विंग डिजीज़ है, इसलिए एग्जैक्टली स्पेसिफिकली किसी ने शायद पता नहीं लगाया है अभी तक कि कौन सा डैमेज ऑर्गन होगा। अभी भी स्टडीज़ आर ऑन। कौन से रिस्क फैक्टर्स हैं जिनके साथ डैमेज होने के ज़्यादा चांसेस हैं, जैसे एल्डरली एज ग्रुप है या यंगस्टर्स में भी हैं, तो वो जेनेटिक फैक्टर्स भी पता लगाए जा रहे हैं। ब्लड ग्रुप के टाइप के साथ भी कई सारे फैक्टर्स पता लगाए गए हैं, लेकिन ऑर्गन डैमेज एक पॉसिबिलिटी है।
नेचर मेडिसिन में प्रकाशित एक समीक्षा के अनुसार रिकवरी के बाद कोविड सर्वाइवर्स में सीरियस कार्डियोवास्कुलर इवेंट की संभावना 55% बढ़ जाती है। एक अमेरिकन स्टडी के अनुसार कोविड पेसमेकर सेल्स को संक्रमित कर सकता है, जिसे फेरोप्टोसिस कहते हैं। इस प्रोसेस में रिएक्टिव ऑक्सीजन मोलेक्यूल्स बढ़ता है, जो आसपास के सेल्स को भी संक्रमित कर देता है।
जो पेशेंट ऑलरेडी बीपी की दवाइयां ले रहा है, उसको कोविड इन्फेक्शन हुआ अर्ली स्टेज में, तो बीपी मॉनिटरिंग इज द फर्स्ट पॉइंट। इफ रिक्वायर्ड द बीपी मेडिसिन डोज शुड बी रिड्यूस्ड in the early phase, and after that when the recovery start, then again the blood pressure may shoot over the level which is he prevented by the same medicine. That time may require the increased dose of the medicine. So during this COVID illness, the patient should monitor the blood pressure from the starting of the illness to the recovery, and may after for 3 months also. Because after this viral illness, then hypercoagulable stage will go on proceed in the body that may increase the blood pressure by the sympathetic overdrive also. So blood pressure management requires the BP monitoring from starting of the illness till the recovery and post recovery 3 to 6 months.
वैसे तो कोविड इन्फेक्शन सबसे पहले लंग्स और रेस्पिरेटरी सिस्टम को प्रभावित करता है, पर इससे दूसरे अंग भी कई बार लंबे समय तक प्रभावित रहते हैं। इनमें हार्ट, ब्रेन, स्लीप डिसऑर्डर, पेट की समस्या, किडनी, जॉइंट पेन, डायबिटीज इत्यादि शामिल हैं। इतना तो साफ है कि कोविड रिकवरी के बाद निश्चिंत होने के बजाय डॉक्टर से मिलकर कुछ ज़रूरी जांच करा लेना चाहिए, क्योंकि कई बार बिना किसी सिम्टम्स और चेतावनी के बड़ा हादसा हो सकता है। इसलिए किसी तरह का रिस्क लेना गलत होगा। तो आज के हेल्थनामा में इतना ही। स्वस्थ रहें, मस्त रहें। नमस्कार।
Welcome back. We now move on to session 3. But let me remind our viewers that we are live on Facebook and YouTube. Session 3 is an important session on global re-emergence of COVID-19. How is India placed? The key panelists are Dr. Sanjay Rai, currently professor at Center for Community Medicine, All India Institute of Medical Sciences, New Delhi. He is also the editor of the prestigious WHO Southeast Asia Journal of Public Health. He is a popular figure in the media and is known for his insights on current pandemic. Next, we have pulmonologist by training, Professor J.C. Suri, the pioneer of critical care and sleep medicine in India. He worked at the Safdarjung Hospital from 1984 to 2018, where he was instrumental in creating India's first holistic pulmonary critical care and sleep medicine department, which he headed from 1980 to 2018. Professor Suri set up the first physician-run intensive care unit in northern India with a main aim to provide integrated diagnostic, supportive, and therapeutic services to critically ill patients. He is also regarded as the father of sleep medicine in India and is credited for establishing the first sleep laboratory in India in 1990. He just messaged saying that he has a procedure to attend, so he might join in late. Next on the panel is Dr. Suman Bandari. He has vast experience in interventional cardiology exceeding 37 years and is a key opinion leader in the field, having trained numerous fellows, both national and international, over this period. His main area of interest is interventional cardiology and clinical cardiology. Next is Dr. Rahul Kakkar, a renowned diabetologist in Delhi with over 20 years of experience. He's a certified specialist in reversing type 2 diabetes and insulin resistance. Last but not the least, we have Dr. Raman Nair, a renowned epidemiologist working as project lead European Union project with Center for Youth and Social Development, Bhubaneswar. Over to you, Kishore, for your first round of questions.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. And good morning, everyone. मेरा पहला सवाल प्रोफेसर संजय राय से है।
जी हाँ
डॉक्टर साहब,
नमस्कार सभी लोगों को।
नमस्कार सर। डॉक्टर साहब, सबसे पहले जो सरकार ने फैसला लिया है सभी एडल्ट्स को बूस्टर डोज देने का, इस पर आपकी क्या प्रतिक्रिया है?
देखिए, जो भी डिसीजन हम लेते हैं उसका एक साइंटिफिक बेसिस होना चाहिए। वी आर डॉक्टर, साइंटिस्ट, रिसर्चर हम लोग हैं, तो ये देखना चाहिए कि क्या बूस्टर का कंसेप्ट इसलिए है या प्रिकॉशनरी डोज का, कि अगर इम्यूनिटी कम हो जाती है तो इसको दे के प्रिवेंट करेंगे। कई लोग ये भी कह रहे हैं कि बूस्टर देने से ही हम फोर्थ वेव जो आने वाला है उसको रोक सकते हैं। तो ये देखना पड़ेगा कि हमारी पॉपुलेशन कितनी ससेप्टेबल है। ससेप्टेबिलिटी का मतलब ये होता है कि या तो इन्फेक्शन हो या सीवियरिटी और डेथ हो उनकी, इस पे डिपेंड करता है। अगर ससेप्टेबल पॉपुलेशन है तो डेफिनेटली कोई भी वेव आ सकती है, अगर ससेप्टेबिलिटी नहीं। ससेप्टेबिलिटी हम कैसे रिड्यूस करते हैं? दो तरीके से होती है, वैक्सीन से और नेचुरल इम्यूनिटी जो मिलती है इसके बाद इन्फेक्शन होने के बाद। नेचुरल इम्यूनिटी के भी एविडेंसेस हैं, वैक्सीन के भी एविडेंसेस हैं। वैक्सीन का एविडेंस अभी तक जो भी एक ग्लोबल है कि 80 to 90% सीवियरिटी एंड डेथ रिड्यूस करता है, लेकिन इन्फेक्शन को रोकने में कारगर नहीं है। वह जो है ऑलमोस्ट न के बराबर है, लेकिन इसकी इफेक्ट जो है 6 मंथ के बाद कम होने लगता है वैक्सीन का जो है ये। तो इसलिए थर्ड डोज बूस्टर या अभी फोर्थ डोज भी कुछ कंट्री ने देना शुरू कर दिया, ऑलरेडी दे दिया है, और हो सकता है एवरी 6 मंथ और 9 मंथ सब्सिक्वेंट डोजेस भी देते रहें। ये वैक्सीन के बारे में एविडेंस है, और डेफिनेटली जो भी ग्लोबल अभी तक एविडेंस है सीवियरिटी और डेथ कम करता है। अब मैं आता हूँ नेचुरल इन्फेक्शन पे। नेचुरल इन्फेक्शन के क्या एविडेंसेस हैं? ये ग्लोबली अगर हम देखें तो नेचुरल इन्फेक्शन जो है एक बार होने के बाद जिनकी जो अनफॉर्चुनेट थे, जिनकी डेथ होनी थी वो हो गई, बट वो लंबे समय तक प्रोटेक्शन देता है, मतलब बेटर प्रोटेक्शन देता है। कुछ स्टडीज ऐसी भी आई हैं कि जैसे काफी बड़े सैंपल साइज पे आया था आपके इजराइल से, 10% 20% नहीं 1300% बेटर प्रोटेक्शन है इन्फेक्शन से। और अगर एड एडजस्टेड हम उसमें करें तो 2700% बेटर प्रोटेक्शन है सीवियरिटी एंड डेथ में। तो अगर ये तो नेचुरल इन्फेक्शन अगर हो गया है तो लंबे समय तक है। अभी तक जो अभी नेचर में एक पब्लिश्ड हुआ है कि करीब 20 महीने तक तो प्रोटेक्शन है ही। अब जो है क्या वह कब तक देगा तो अगर सेलुलर इम्यूनिटी डेवलप करता है, इम्यूनोसेल मेमोरी डेवलप करता है, तो लाइफ लॉन्ग इम्यूनिटी दे सकता है एक बार अगर आपको इन्फेक्शन हो गया तो। और वह सेम नेचर में ही पब्लिश्ड है करीब 6 महीने पहले, ये सब हाई इम्पैक्ट जर्नल है कि यह जो है सेलुलर इम्यूनिटी डेवलप कर रहा है तो लाइफ लॉन्ग इम्यूनिटी दे सकता है। जिस तरीके से अभी सेकेंड वेव के बाद ओमिक्रॉन का इन्फेक्शन हुआ है, 3 लाख तो हमने रिपोर्ट किया है, क्योंकि इस बार जिसका भी टेस्ट कराओ पॉजिटिव आ रहा था, मेजॉरिटी का हम टेस्ट नहीं कर रहे थे। अभी नहीं लगता कि हमारी कम्युनिटी लेवल जो है कोई एविडेंस हमारे पास है कि इम्यूनिटी कम हुई है। और जिस तरीके से सेकेंड वेव के बाद जब इन्फेक्शन हुआ था, सेकेंड वेव में बहुत ज्यादा डेथ्स हुई थी, गांव-गांव तक में डेथ्स हुई थी, उस समय तो बहुत ही डिवास्टेटिंग था हमारे लिए। लेकिन आज हमारी सबसे बड़ी स्ट्रेंथ है, क्योंकि एक अच्छे खासे पॉपुलेशन को उसने इन्फेक्ट कर दिया। इसके बाद प्रिकॉशनरी डोज का क्या सिग्निफिकेंस है, वो भी आफ्टर दिस इन्फेक्शन ओमिक्रॉन। इसका मैं जो सबसे बड़ा एग्जांपल देता हूं कि प्रिकॉशनरी डोज या थर्ड डोज अगर आप देखें, साउथ कोरिया इस समय हाईली वैक्सीनेटेड पॉपुलेशन है, थर्ड डोज भी मोर देन 65% को थर्ड डोज लगा हुआ है। फिर भी पिछले 2 महीने से जो है वहां पे जो है कितनी बड़ी वेव आई हुई है, 1000% ज्यादा है अगर पहले से कंपेरिजन करें तो, उससे भी ज्यादा। डेथ भी अच्छी खासी हो रही है। वैक्सीन रिड्यूस करता है डेथ, बट उतना नहीं करता जितना नेचुरल इन्फेक्शन करता है। वहां कोई वेव नहीं आई थी साउथ कोरिया में। सिंगापुर देख लीजिए, ऑलमोस्ट 100% वैक्सीनेटेड पॉपुलेशन, उसके बाद भी इतनी बड़ी वेव आई। तो ब्रेक थ्रू इन्फेक्शन जितना कॉमन है उतना नहीं होता, उसके ग्लोबल काफी एविडेंसेस हैं। यूके ने ओमिक्रॉन आने से पहले री इन्फेक्शन रेट बहुत ही कम था, न के बराबर था। यूके ने 40 लाख का अपना डेटा रिलीज किया, क्योंकि सबसे समय समय पे यूके ही डेटा रिलीज करता रहता है। तो हमें जो है उसको देखना चाहिए। 40 लाख लोगों में सिर्फ 53 को कंफर्म री इन्फेक्शन था और किसी को सीवियरिटी नहीं हुई। तो ये सब एविडेंसेस हैं। समहाउ जो है मेन स्ट्रीम मीडिया इसको कवर नहीं करता। क्यों नहीं कवर करता मुझे नहीं पता, लेकिन वो कवर नहीं होता। तो बिना एविडेंस का, अब ये 2 साल पुराना वायरस हो गया, बिना एविडेंस का हमें कोई डिसीजन नहीं लेना चाहिए कि क्या प्रोटेक्शन है। कई बार होता है कमर्शियल इंटरेस्ट हावी रहता है, और वह जो है ऐसे एविडेंस लोगों के सामने रखते हैं, उससे लगता है कि जैसे सब कुछ वही हो रहा है, बिना उसके तो कुछ हो ही नहीं सकता, जी नहीं सकते। उसके कई, हर दवा का, हर वैक्सीन का फायदा नुकसान भी होता है। हम रिस्क एंड बेनिफिट देखते हैं। अगर बेनिफिट ज्यादा है उसको देते हैं। जब तक बेनिफिट, जैसे एडल्ट में बेनिफिट बहुत ज्यादा था, अगर सशेड्यूल पॉपुलेशन है, ह्यूज बेनिफिट 80 to 90% अगर हम डेथ रिड्यूस करते हैं, तो इट्स ए ग्रेट बेनिफिट ऑफ वैक्सीनेशन। 33 वैक्सीन हैं इस समय अप्रूव्ड जो है पूरी दुनिया में। मोर देन 300 वैक्सीन जो है, 344 एग्जैक्टली अगर मैं कहूं, तो ऑलरेडी डिफरेंट फेजेज ऑफ डेवलपमेंट में है। तो इतने वैक्सीन, और इसका जो है कि हमेशा जो है कमर्शियल इंटरेस्ट अब आगे रहेगा, बट हमें एविडेंस को देखना चाहिए। अभी सारी एविडेंस अगर मैं देखूं तो शायद यह समय अभी नहीं है, कोई इतना सॉलिड एविडेंस हमारी कंट्री में एटलीस्ट नहीं है कि मैं कहूं कि उससे बहुत बेनिफिट मिलने वाला है। थोड़े पॉपुलेशन जो बचे होंगे, जिनको शायद इन्फेक्शन नहीं हुआ होगा, उनको बेनिफिट मिलेगा। बट अगर रिस्क बेनिफिट मैं यहाँ करूं, क्योंकि आल्दो एडी रिपोर्टेड नहीं है, एडी तो डेंगू में रिपोर्टेड है, एडी करते हैं हमारा जो है एंटीबॉडीज डिपेंडेंट इनहेंसमेंट। लेकिन कुछ कंट्रीज में जिस तरीके से एंटीबॉडीज लेवल हम अपना मेंटेन रखे हुए, फिर भी इन्फेक्शन हो रहे हैं, सीवियरिटी हो रहे हैं, डेथ हो रहा है, तो इसको हम कह सकते हैं कि प्रोबेबिलिटी है। और ल्यूक मॉन्टेजियर हमारे जो वायरोलॉजिस्ट थे, नोबेल लॉरेट थे, नोबेल प्राइज मिला था, उन्होंने बहुत पहले शक जाहिर किया था स्पेशली मैसेंजर आरएनए वैक्सीन के लिए कि ये इतना स्पेसिफिक एंटीबॉडीज बनाता है कि आरएनए वायरस है, इसमें म्यूटेशंस होते रहेंगे, और म्यूटेशंस अगर होंगे तो इवन योर प्रेजेंस ऑफ एंटीबॉडीज जो है उसको रिकॉग्नाइज नहीं करेगा, और इन्फेक्शन भी होगा, सीवियरिटी भी होगा, और उतना ही नहीं, सीवियरिटी ज्यादा होने के चांसेस भी हो सकते हैं। एज ए साइंटिस्ट हमें ओपन माइंड हमेशा रहना चाहिए। तो वो सीवियरिटी ज्यादा होने के भी चांसेस हो सकते हैं अगर आपका एंटीबॉडीज लेवल हाई है, बट वो न्यूट्रलाइज नहीं कर रहा है उस वेरिएंट को। अगर नहीं कर रहा तो उससे भी होगा, जैसे लॉन्ग कोविड में जो कुछ भी है, ज्यादातर ये जो हमारे इम्यून रिस्पॉन्स के कारण से जो भी प्रॉब्लम होती है, ज्यादातर प्रॉब्लम जो है सारी फीवर आना भी जो ड्यू टू इम्यून रिस्पॉन्स है सार्स कोरोना वायरस 2 इन्फेक्शन में। तो अगर हाइपर इम्यून रिस्पॉन्स से भी प्रॉब्लम हो सकती है, ऐसा नहीं कि नहीं हो सकता। तो हमें रिस्क एंड बेनिफिट बैलेंस करना चाहिए। अभी मुझे एविडेंस नहीं आता। किशोर जी, मैंने कोशिश की आंसर देने की, अगर फिर भी कुछ बचा हो तो आप पूछ लीजिए, मैं बता दूंगा।
डॉक्टर साहब, थोड़ी देर पहले हमारे इसी शो में डॉक्टर अमिताभ बनर्जी भी बात कर रहे थे और उन्होंने भी कहा कि हमारे यहाँ मास वैक्सीनेशन की जगह फोकस्ड वैक्सीनेशन होना चाहिए। तो सरकार का ये फैसला, क्या आपको लगता है कि किसी नई वेव के डर से, जो कहा जा रहा था फोर्थ वेव, हालांकि बहुत से लोग थर्ड वेव ओमिक्रॉन को नहीं मानते हैं, इसको तो फोर्थ वेव या थर्ड वेव जो भी आने वाला है, इस डर से सरकार ने ये फैसला किया?
देखिए, पहली बात तो मैं बता दूं, ये मैंने आज से 1 साल पहले भी कहा था, जब लोग कह रहे थे जल्दी जल्दी बच्चों को वैक्सीन लगा दो, सबको वैक्सीन लगा दो, कि कोई वेव नहीं रोक सकते। उस समय हमारी इन्फेक्शन रेट भी इतना नहीं था। किसी वेव को नहीं रोका जा सकता है वैक्सीनेशन से। नहीं तो कोई वेव नहीं आती साउथ कोरिया में, थर्ड डोज देने के बाद भी कोई वेव नहीं आती आपके सिंगापुर में, वियतनाम में कोई वेव नहीं आती, ठीक है। जहां जहां ये, या हमारी कंट्री में सबसे ज्यादा जो है, लास्ट में अगर देखिए 3-4 महीने पहले केरला में था सबसे ज्यादा, हम पूरी कंट्री में 10% नहीं था, केरला में डबल वैक्सीनेटेड 50% लोग हो गए थे। फिर उतनी परेशानी नहीं होनी चाहिए थी। कहने का मतलब ये है कि वेव नहीं रोका जा सकता। वेव के इम्पैक्ट को रोका जा सकता है अगर पॉपुलेशन ससेप्टेबल हो, ठीक है। मतलब सीवियरिटी डेथ हम रोक सकते हैं, डेफिनेटली वैक्सीन का रोल है सीवियरिटी डेथ रोकने में, लेकिन अगर पॉपुलेशन ससेप्टेबल हो। आज की डेट में मुझे नहीं लगता कि हिंदुस्तान में 10% से ज्यादा ससेप्टेबल पॉपुलेशन होगा। इसलिए जो है, अगर मैं चूंकि था नहीं जब डॉक्टर अमिताभ बनर्जी ने, जैसा कि आपने बताया कि कह रहे थे, तो मैं फुल्ली सपोर्ट करता हूं 100% साइंटिफिक बेसिस है उसका, कि वह जो है स्ट्रेटेजिकली हमें ये करना चाहिए। क्योंकि अगर कल ये पता चलता है, हो सकता है, ओपन माइंड अगर मैं रहूं साइंटिस्ट की, अगर प्रॉब्लम इसने क्रिएट किया तो हम रिवर्स नहीं कर सकते हैं। इसलिए जो है हमें जो है एविडेंस के बाद ही जो है कोई डिसीजन लेना चाहिए, किसी के दबाव में नहीं। जी हाँ
डॉक्टर साहब, नए वेरिएंट एक्सी की बात चल रही है और इंडिया में भी गुजरात में और महाराष्ट्र में एक केस मिला है, हालांकि संपूर्ण रूप से पुष्टि नहीं हुई उसकी, तो ये माना जा रहा है कि आ गया। तो ये एक्सी कितना खतरनाक है और भारत के संदर्भ में कितना ज्यादा फैलने की इसकी संभावना है?
पहली बात कि जो अभी तक एविडेंस है या रिकम्बिनेंट है, इसी के जो है ओमिक्रॉन के 2 लीनेज जो है आपस में ही जुड़ गए हैं, और हो सकता है, ऑल्दो आरएनए वायरस में कम होता है रिकम्बिनेशन, बट हो सकता है डीएनए में ज्यादा होता है, यहाँ पे बहुत ही कम होता है, बट हो सकता है, और इसकी पॉसिबिलिटी है। और वह एक्सी जिसकी आप बात कर रहे हैं वो उसी का लीनेज है। जहां तक जो अभी तक एविडेंस कहीं भी आया है वो ये है कि इसकी इन्फेक्टिविटी ज्यादा है। अभी ये नहीं है कि सीवियरिटी बहुत ज्यादा है या डेथ बहुत ज्यादा हो रही है, ऐसा नहीं है। हमारी कंट्री में ऑलरेडी ओमिक्रॉन आ चुका था, वो वहां प्रॉब्लम हो सकती है जहां भी इन्फेक्शन नहीं हुआ। इट्स वेरी अनलाइकली कि हमारी कंट्री में उसका कोई बहुत बड़ा इम्पैक्ट होने वाला, मतलब हॉस्पिटलाइजेशन बढ़ जाए, डेथ होने लगे। ये 2 तो डिटेक्टेड है, ठीक है। इतने पोरस बॉर्डर हैं, इतना ज्यादा ट्रेवल, ये सब है। मेजॉरिटी जो है हमारे यहाँ ससेप्टेबल पॉपुलेशन नहीं है, एसिम्प्टोमेटिक कैरियर हो सकते हैं, वो लेके वायरस कहीं से आ सकते हैं। इस टाइप के वायरस का पूरी दुनिया में हमें यह है कि रोका नहीं जा सकता। स्ट्रिक्ट मेजर से कुछ दिनों तक आप डेफर कर सकते हैं इन्फेक्शन को, बट सूनर और लेटर मेजॉरिटी ऑफ अस विल गेट। 2020 में जब हम लोगों ने ये स्टेटमेंट दिया था कि सूनर और लेटर मेजॉरिटी ऑफ अस विल गेट, तो सभी लोगों को उससे भी प्रॉब्लम हुई थी, या वेबसाइट पे भी अवेलेबल है कि कैसे कह रहे हैं कि सूनर और लेटर मेजॉरिटी ऑफ अस विल गेट दिस इन्फेक्शन, इतने हम मेजर कर रहे हैं, लॉकडाउन लगा रहे हैं। ड्यूरिंग लॉकडाउन ही हम लोगों ने कहा था कि रिस्पायरेटरी डिजीज को इस तरीके से रोकना संभव नहीं होता। आप जो है स्ट्रेटेजिकली लॉकडाउन और इसको भी करते रहें, क्योंकि लॉकडाउन क्या करेगा, स्लो कर देगा प्रोग्रेशन। पर्सन टू पर्सन ये डिजीज फैलता है, मेनली जो है ड्रॉपलेट है, थोड़ा सा एयरबॉर्न भी है, मतलब फोमाइड से ऑलमोस्ट न के बराबर है। तो पर्सन टू पर्सन फैलेगा। जब आप रिस्ट्रिक्टेड मूवमेंट कर देंगे तो स्लो प्रोग्रेशन होगा, बट अगर कम्युनिटी में है तो फैलता रहेगा, धीरे धीरे फैलेगा। अगर हॉस्पिटलाइज और सूनर और लेटर जब सबको होना है, मेजॉरिटी को होना है, तो आप रिस्ट्रिक्शन करके बस कुछ दिनों तक उसको डेफर करते हैं। अगर जब आपका हेल्थ सिस्टम ओवरवेलम्ड हो जाए, बिल्कुल उस समय रिस्ट्रिक्शंस जरूरी हो जाते हैं। लेकिन अगर सीवियरिटी नहीं हो रही, डेथ नहीं हो रही, डेथ्स ओनली मैटर, इन ऑल दीज केसेस। तो अगर डेथ नहीं हो रही है, सीवियरिटी नहीं हो रही है, तो फिर डेफर करने का कोई मतलब नहीं होता। कई बार सिर्फ फार्मास्यूटिकल लॉबी नहीं, बाकी लॉबी भी जो है इसको हवा देते रहते हैं, क्योंकि उनको भी बेनिफिट है। आप देखिए जो ऑनलाइन बिजनेस करते हैं, जितनी ऑनलाइन कंपनियां हैं, मैं किसी का नाम नहीं लेना चाहता हूं, बट उनका भी जो है वेस्टेड इंटरेस्ट है। किस तरीके की रिस्ट्रिक्शन रहेंगे तो लोग जो है ऑनलाइन खरीदारी करते रहेंगे। एक लोगों की आदत पड़ेगी कि हम सस्ते दे रहे हैं, उस समय सारे सामान भी सस्ते मिलते हैं। तो ये बड़ा कॉम्प्लेक्स इशू है, इतना इजी नहीं है जितना हम इजी इसको समझते हैं। तो एक्सी की जहां तक बात है, मुझे नहीं लगता कि उसका बहुत बड़ा इंपैक्ट होगा, और 2 केस नहीं 2 लाख भी केसेस हो सकते हैं, बट वो एसिम्टोमेटिक होंगे या कैरियर स्टेज में होंगे, क्योंकि मेजॉरिटी को इन्फेक्शन हो चुका था। और एक्सी जो है अभी री इन्फेक्शन करने की जो है बहुत क्षमता है, इसका कोई एविडेंस नहीं है। तो अभी ओमिक्रॉन जस्ट गया है, इसलिए मुझे नहीं लगता कि कोई प्रॉब्लम बहुत ही है। इट्स वेरी अनलाइकली। हम कभी भी 100% तो नहीं कह सकते अनटिल अनलेस कोई ऐसा वेरिएंट ना आ जाए कि वह जो है कंप्लीट इम्यूनिटी को बाईपास करे, मतलब इन्फेक्शन भी करे, सीवियरिटी एंड डेथ भी करे, दोनों नेचुरल इन्फेक्शन को भी करे और इसको भी करे। वैक्सीन से भी एक्वायर्ड इम्यूनिटी जो है हमारी है, सो एक्वायर्ड इम्यूनिटी को अगर बाईपास करने लगा तो प्रॉब्लम हो सकती है। अगर ऐसा वेरिएंट आ गया, अगर नेचुरल इन्फेक्शन को उसने बाईपास किया, तो सारे वैक्सीन जो आज की डेट में हम दे रहे हैं वो भी जो है उसकी भी काफी संभावना है कि यूजलेस हो जाएंगी, क्योंकि जो आज की डेट तक हमारे पास एविडेंस है, सबसे बेटर ये है नेचुरल इन्फेक्शन ही दे रहा है। इसका ये मतलब नहीं हुआ कि हम सबको एक्सपोज करेंगे, बट ऑलरेडी अब हमारे लोग एक्सपोज हो चुके हैं, इसलिए जो है जो साइंस है मैं उसकी बात कर रहा था। ठीक है, थैंक यू।
थैंक यू डॉक्टर साहब, आप हमारे साथ बने रहिए, हम फिर लौटेंगे आपके पास। ओवर टू यू मिस्टर शंकर।
Thank you, Kishore. I'll now move on to Dr. Suman Bandari. Dr. Bandari, according to a recent study, the SARS-CoV-2, the virus causing COVID-19, can infect cells of the heart's natural pacemaker that maintains rhythmic beat, setting off pharoptosis or self-destruction process causing arrhythmias. What is your view on this?
So, thank you for having me on the show. And as we know, this disease affects all the organs, predominantly the inner linings of blood vessels. And heart also, there are enough studies, even MRI based, to show that there is scarring of heart के अंदर जो muscle है उसके अंदर scarring हो सकती है. And you can have arrhythmias because of that. Muscle weakness हो सकती है. So it can even have changes जो कि mimic करें heart attack को. So this is about 5-10% will have that, and that is why जो जैसे आपने बताया long COVID cases, हर एक जो long COVID case हमें कहता है कि सांस चढ़ रहा है, breathlessness हो रही है, तो echo becomes an integral part of the examination, ECG echo, कि भी कोई उसकी heart weak तो नहीं हो गई है. Plus, I have seen patients, many young patients who have developed conduction system abnormality. उनको high grade AV block हो गया है, and some were even 26 साल का था, उसको COVID हुआ, started to have some uneasiness, discomfort, and more at night. तो उसका जब Holter किया गया, तो he started having long pauses, and nearly was considered कि इसको pacemaker लगेगा. So it can affect the heart in variety of ways, but we kept him conservative and because it is some swelling on the conduction system which can धीरे-धीरे कम हो सकता है. So the gentleman who was 26 years, we knew from natural history कि इसको हम we can monitor him, and if he regresses, then he will not require a pacemaker. So definitely heart is an important organ. In fact, just yesterday, some tweet happened, and that described that even the genital organs can get affected by the virus, causing dysfunction, erectile dysfunction, causing sperm count getting less. So it is a generalized disease, and we are learning more and more every day about it.
Some studies have found that people between 30 and 40 and without any history of heart ailments are succumbing to attacks. Even asymptomatic patients are at high risk. What's your view? This is a big study based.
Yeah, so as pehle bhi bataya gaya, we even up to 6 months, people who have had COVID are more prone to develop clots in form of deep vein thrombosis or pulmonary embolism, or even clotting. जिनको जैसे stent लगा हुआ है, they are more prone to have sudden clotting in the stent and have acute blockages. So यहाँ जो कोई heart की artery है which has cracked down, is vulnerable, can become more predominant, but we don't have a full data on it. It is a hypothesis. How many actually have happened? In fact, ulta data हमारे पास है from UK, and that is to say that जो during pandemic, जो left main होता है is a very serious condition involving the origin of the left artery. Only 30% presented as compared to earlier years in the COVID era. So were they dying at home or not coming is not clear. So opposite also has happened, that less people with heart disease are presenting, because they are afraid of coming to the hospitals. And the other theory is that because of clotting, more heart attacks are happening. So I think we still have to get the full data on everything. But this is sure that less people are presenting to hospitals who have heart disease to the tune of nearly 30 to 40%.
Now, are people who were COVID asymptomatic because they didn't know that they were COVID positive at risk if they had an underlying heart problem? How often should they go for evaluation?
I think if you have had a COVID and you have earlier heart disease, then definitely you should get evaluated by the cardiologist in terms of an echo, a repeat TMT, etc. But agar asymptomatic the or you want to get a heart evaluated, I don't think it is any different from what you would have done. That means more than 35 years, males, जिनको diabetes है, hypertension है, या smokers हैं, या obese हैं, या family history है, they definitely should get themselves evaluated कि उनको कोई TMT positive तो नहीं है, echo में ECG में abnormality तो नहीं है, sugar, cholesterol वगैरह ज़्यादा high तो नहीं है. But definitely, because as you rightly said, there is a possibility that more thrombus can form, more clot can form on such vessels, and for at least 3-6 weeks or months, you have these people quite often on blood thinners, either aspirin, clopidogrel, or the 10A antagonist, oral antagonist. So, वो protect करता है, but as studies show, you are vulnerable for the first 6 months, even if you have mild symptoms. So I agree with you that they should be better evaluated, especially if they are beyond 35 years male or beyond 40 year female.
How often? Once in 6 months?
I would think once a year is enough. Once a year is enough to do that.
But then next question is, a recent publication found that acute decompensated heart failure was found in younger and predominantly male population. Why is that so?
I think male population, especially blacks, में hypertension is a big problem. So maybe this is a study from the US. Young blacks have a very high incidence of hypertension, and they do not get full treatment for COVID. They do not get as much, benefit from like the white in the US would have. So they probably are the more vulnerable after COVID to not have had full antihypertensive and then to have another stress of COVID infection. So I think the study may be from that population.
This was actually a South India-based study, if I'm not wrong, a hospital-based study which took place. I think it is yet Indian Cardiology Society or something came across. But especially in the South, it was found that more youngsters are getting prone to this problem. And next, Kishore, I would now request you to ask questions to Dr. Kakal, Rahul Kakal.
Thank you, sir.
And Dr. Bandari.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
डॉक्टर कक्कड़, लॉन्ग कोविड की बहुत बात हो रही है. क्या एक डायबिटिक पर्सन, अगर उनका डायबिटीज नियंत्रित नहीं है, तो क्या वो लॉन्ग कोविड के लिए ज्यादा वल्नरेबल है?
नमस्कार सर. नमस्कार सर. हमने इसमें दो चीजें देखी. कोविड में जो अभी तक जर्नी रही है 2 साल की, उसमें हम दो चीजें जो इम्पोर्टेंट समझ में आई हैं, वो ये है, एक तो होस्ट रिस्पॉन्स होता है और एक पैथोजन रिस्पॉन्स होता है. तो पैथोजन रिस्पॉन्स में हम लोग बहुत ज्यादा कुछ नहीं कर पाए हैं. जो भी ट्रीटमेंट्स हैं, जो भी चीजें हैं, वो सारा का सारा होस्ट रिस्पॉन्स पे टारगेट हुई है. होस्ट रिस्पॉन्स पे टारगेट हुई है, तो वो कैसे टारगेट हुई है, क्या कर रही है? जो भी चीजें आप दे रहे हो, सपोर्टिव दे रहे हो, विटामिन डी दे रहे हो, विटामिन सी, जिंक, क्वेरसिटिन, वो सारी चीजें इन्फ्लेमेशन कम कर रही हैं, ऑक्सीडेटिव स्ट्रेस कम कर रही हैं. एंटीऑक्सीडेंट्स दे रहे हो, स्टीरॉइड्स दे रहे हो, तो स्टीरॉइड्स का भी एंटी इन्फ्लामेटरी रोल है. तो ये जो चीजें हैं, तो जो बेसिक अंडरलाइंग कॉज हो गया, इन्फ्लेमेशन आप कम कर रहे हो, ऑक्सीडेटिव स्ट्रेस आप कम कर रहे हो, इमोशनल स्ट्रेस आप कम कर रहे हो. जैसे कि आप ये देखो कि SSRI करके क्लास ऑफ मेडिसिन है जो कि डिप्रेशन, एंजाइटी में देते हैं, उसके बेनिफिट्स देखे गए हैं कोविड-19 के अंदर. तो ये जो चीजें बेसलाइन पे काम कर रही हैं, इन्फ्लेमेशन कम कर रहा है, ऑक्सीडेटिव स्ट्रेस कम कर रहा है, इमोशनल स्ट्रेस कम कर रहा है. सो यही अंडरलाइंग मैकेनिज्म्स हैं जो कि डायबिटीज को वर्सन करते हैं. जिन पेशेंट्स के अंदर ओबेसिटी है, स्ट्रेस है, इन्फ्लेमेशन बढ़ी हुई है, ऑक्सीडेटिव मार्कर्स बढ़े हुए हैं, ये जो चीजें डायबिटीज को वर्सन करेंगी, सेम चीजें अंडरलाइंग मैकेनिज्म जो है वो कोविड-19 का भी मैकेनिज्म, जो पैथोजेनेसिस है, वो यही है. तो अनटिल एंड अनलेस वो बेसिक जो अंडरलाइंग फायर है, आप उसको कंट्रोल नहीं करोगे, तब तक मैनिफेस्टेशन ऊपर से कुछ भी हो सकते हैं. चाहे कोविड वर्सन मान लो, चाहे डायबिटीज वर्सन मान लो, चाहे हार्ट एलिमेंट्स वर्सन मान लो. तो बेसिक जो है, हमको वही स्ट्रेस करना है कि जो अंडरलाइंग मैकेनिज्म है उसको कैसे टारगेट किया जाए. तो वो अगर टारगेट नहीं हुआ, वो एक बैकग्राउंड फायर बनी रही, तो लॉन्ग टर्म मैनिफेस्टेशंस बने रहेंगे.
डॉक्टर साहब, एक बात और देखी गई है जिसको कि हम लोग कोविड डायबिटीज कहते हैं, कि पहले से कोई डायबिटीज का सिम्टम नहीं, कुछ नहीं है, लेकिन इन्फेक्शन, कोविड इन्फेक्शन होने के बाद उनको डायबिटीज हो गया
जी.
तो ये क्या लंबे समय तक रहता है, या ये समय के साथ अपने आप खत्म हो जाता है, या परमानेंट मेडिकेशन पे जाना पड़ता है?
सर, इसके अंदर ये डिपेंड करेगा कि डायबिटीज उस कंडीशन के अंदर, उस पेशेंट के अंदर होने का कारण क्या है. एक तो कारण ये हो सकता है कि उसके अंदर अंडरलाइंग कोई डेफिशिएंसीज हो जो कि मैनिफेस्ट कर गई हो, जो कि बेस लाइन के अंदर तो आपका शुगर कंट्रोल बैलेंस करा हुआ है, बट जैसे ही कोई भी स्ट्रेस बढ़ा, स्ट्रेस इन द फॉर्म ऑफ फिजिकल इलनेस बढ़ गया, स्ट्रेस इन द फॉर्म ऑफ इमोशनल स्ट्रेस बढ़ गया, क्योंकि कोविड-19 के साथ इतना साइकोलॉजिकल एलिमेंट जुड़ा हुआ है, एक डिप्रेशन, एंजाइटी, फियर जुड़ा हुआ है, कि वो चीजें अपने आप शुगर कंट्रोल वर्सन कर सकती हैं. उसके अलावा कोविड के ट्रीटमेंट के लिए अगर स्टीरॉइड्स दिए हैं, तो वो स्टीरॉइड्स डायबिटीज को वर्सन कर सकते हैं. आपकी फिजिकल मूवमेंट कम हो गई है, रिस्ट्रिक्शन कम हो गई है, सेडेंटरी लाइफस्टाइल हो गई है, घर बैठे खाए जा रहे हो, तो वो डायबिटीज को वर्सन कर सकते हैं.
सर, चूंकि डायबिटीज शरीर के हर अंग को प्रभावित करता है, इसीलिए ये आपके लिए ज्यादा इम्पोर्टेंट हो गया है कि हम ये जाने कि अगर कोई डायबिटिक व्यक्ति कोविड से इन्फेक्टेड होता है, तो आगे नेगेटिव हो जाने के बाद भी कितने दिनों तक, कितने महीनों तक उनको सावधान रहना चाहिए, और किस तरह के टेस्ट वगैरह करा लेने चाहिए?
सर, हमने जैसा कि जब अपन ने बात स्टार्ट की, हमने अंडरलाइंग मैकेनिज्म देख लिया कि अंडरलाइंग मैकेनिज्म क्या है. हम एक चीज 2 साल में समझ गए हैं कि वायरस के साथ छेड़छाड़ नहीं कर पा रहे हैं. आपने जितनी भी एंटीवायरल्स निकाल ली, रेमडेसिविर निकाल ली, जो भी निकाल लिया, उसका जो बेनिफिट्स हैं, सिवियरिटी, मोर्टेलिटी बेनिफिट्स नहीं देखे गए हैं. उसका ये देखे गया है कि ड्यूरेशन ऑफ स्टे इन द हॉस्पिटल कम हो रहा है. 5 दिन जो भर्ती हो रहा था, वो 2 दिन में, 3 दिन में डिस्चार्ज हो रहा है. बट जो मोर्टेलिटी एंड सिवियरिटी बेनिफिट्स देखे गए हैं, वो सबसे ज्यादा स्टीरॉयड ट्रीटमेंट और उसके देखे गए हैं. तो कुछ भी है, वी हैव टू स्टे ऑन वन थिंग, कि हमें अपनी इम्यूनिटी स्ट्रांग करनी है, हमें अपना लाइफस्टाइल इंप्रूव करना है. तो क्योंकि अंडरलाइंग मैकेनिज्म सेम है. अब आप देखिए कि अगर आप गुड डाइट की बात करो, एक्सरसाइज की बात करो, तो एक्सरसाइज, गुड डाइट आपको डिप्रेशन में भी हेल्प कर रही है, आपको कोविड में भी हेल्प कर रही है, योगा आपको वहां भी हेल्प कर रहा है, डायबिटीज कंट्रोल में भी हेल्प कर रहा है, बीपी में भी हेल्प कर रहा है, डिप्रेशन में भी हेल्प कर रहा है, डिमेंशिया में भी हेल्प कर रहा है। अगर एक चीज सब में हेल्प कर रही है तो उसका ये मतलब है कि वो उस कारण पे इफेक्ट कर रही है जिस कारण से सब चीजें हो रही है। तो अंडरलाइंग मैकेनिज्म उस पे आप, क्योंकि अब जैसा कि आप ये वेरिएंट आ रहा है वो वेरिएंट, जैसे ही आपका ध्यान वेरिएंट की तरफ जाता है, कोविड की तरफ जाता है, आप होस्ट रिस्पॉन्स छोड़ देते हो। आपको जो करना है आप वही कर सकते हो। आपको उस चीज से ही डायबिटीज कंट्रोल भी उससे मॉनिटर होगा, शुगर कंट्रोल आपको ठीक रखना है, शुगर कंट्रोल आपका ठीक रहेगा, इन्फ्लेमेशन कम रहेगी, कोविड की सिवियरिटी बढ़ेगी। शुगर कंट्रोल जब आप ठीक करोगे, जो भी मेजर्स आप शुगर कंट्रोल को ठीक करने के लिए करोगे, चाहे अच्छी डाइट फॉलो करोगे, चाहे फिजिकल एक्सरसाइजेस करोगे, योगा करोगे, स्ट्रेस मैनेजमेंट करोगे, उससे अपने आप आपका मोटापा कम होगा, रिस्क ऑफ हार्ट डिजीज कम होगा, रिस्क ऑफ कोविड सिवियरिटी कम होगा, बॉडी का विसरल फैट कम होगा तो कोविड सिवियरिटी कम हो जाएगी, ओबेसिटी कम हो जाएगी, आपका सांस अच्छा ले पाओगे, एरिएशन अच्छा होगा, लंग सिवियरिटी कम हो जाएगी। सो जो अंडरलाइंग मैकेनिज्म है उसी को फोकस करना होगा।
थैंक यू डॉक्टर साहब। डॉक्टर सुमन भंडारी, एक स्टडी के अनुसार रिकवरी के बाद कोविड सर्वाइवर्स में सीरियस कार्डियोवास्कुलर इवेंट की संभावना 55% तक बढ़ जाती है। क्या वजह है डॉक्टर सुमन भंडारी? डॉक्टर सुमन भंडारी, आप हैं हमारे साथ?
सॉरी, मैं म्यूटेड था। सॉरी।
आपने सवाल सुन लिया डॉक्टर साहब?
हाँ सर, एक बार फिर बता दीजिए। मैंने
एक स्टडी के अनुसार रिकवरी के बाद कोविड सर्वाइवर्स में सीरियस कार्डियोवास्कुलर इवेंट की संभावना 55% बढ़ जाती है।
हाँ, वही जैसे मैं बता रहा था अभी, एक दो स्टडीज आई हैं कि इवन 6 महीने तक उनको पल्मोनरी एम्बोलिज्म होना या डीप वेन थ्रोम्बोसिस होना या मोर इंसिडेंस ऑफ क्लॉटिंग इन द हार्ट स्टेंट्स। तो ये बिकॉज जो बीमारी है इट इन्वॉल्व्स द इनर लाइनिंग ऑफ ब्लड वेसल्स, तो एंड इट मे रिमेन परसिस्टेंट एंड sort of active for more than just 2 weeks. It may remain in a phase of inflammatory phase for 6 months or so. तो इसलिए we have to be careful, और पहले 6 हफ्ते या 3 हफ्ते तक तो we give them definitely blood thinners like अपना oral anticoagulants as well. But later also जो high risk हैं, अगर बहुत obese हैं या डायबिटीज अनकंट्रोल्ड है, तो दे शुड बी केयरफुली मॉनिटर्ड एंड सम फॉर्म ऑफ एंटीप्लेटलेट शुड कंटिन्यू इवन इन दैट।
एक अमेरिकन स्टडी में देख रहा था, उसमें भी कहा गया है कि जो कोविड वायरस है वो ओरिजिनल पेसमेकर्स को के जो सेल्स हैं और उसके जो आसपास सेल्स हैं उसको भी संक्रमित कर देता है, जिसके कारण बिना किसी वार्निंग के, बिना किसी संकेत के कुछ ऐसे प्रॉब्लम होते हैं जो बड़ा हादसा हो जाता है, और हमने कई मामलों में देखा भी है। तो इसकी क्या वजह है डॉक्टर साहब?
जैसे मैंने बताया, आई हैव सीन माई सेल्फ, 26 साल का लड़का था जिसको कोविड हुआ और हफ्ते बाद थोड़ी गिडीनेस वगैरह के सिम्टम्स हुए, तो होल्टर जब किया गया तो उनको हाई ग्रेड एवी ब्लॉक था, मतलब कि जो कंडक्शन सिस्टम होता है, एवी नोड पहले साइनस नोड से कंडक्शन शुरू होके फिर एवी नोड में जाता है, तो उसके अराउंड इन्फ्लेमेशन थी, ताकि कंडक्शन जो है, अगर साइनस 3 बीट आती थी तो नीचे 1 जाती थी, तो वो एवी नोड पे ब्लॉक हुआ था उसको, जो ग्रेजुअली इंप्रूव हो गया। तो उधर इन्फ्लेमेशन हो जाती है, उधर ब्लड सेल्स जो जा रहे हैं, ब्लड वेसल्स या वो सेल्स अराउंड दैट एरिया, दे बिकम इन्फ्लेम्ड। So as I said, it is a pan disease. अब पाया जा रहा है कि इवन पिनाइल वेसल्स में प्रॉब्लम होती है, इरेक्टाइल डिस्फंक्शन हो रहा है, स्पर्म का काउंट कम हो रहा है। So all these things we will know more and more as more data comes for long COVID.
Thank you, Dr. Saab. Over to you, Mr. Shankar.
Thank you, Kishore. Before I go on to Dr. Raman Nair, I have a question for Dr. Kakkar. Now, we had seen during the COVID, we had a lot of steroid-induced diabetics. Do you see a trend where it has come back to normal with intervention or without intervention?
Yes, sir. So certainly, sir, if the blood sugars are going up because of the steroids, it requires management. You have to step up the anti-diabetic medication in the form of either oral medications or adjust the dosages of insulin. And once the effect of the steroid goes away, once the severity of the COVID has gone, and once the patient start resuming back to the health, we have to reduce the tapering of the anti-diabetic medication, and the blood sugars fall back in the pre-COVID range then.
Yeah, thank you. Now I'll go on to Dr. Raman Nair. Welcome to the show. Sorry to have kept you waiting. I think, Dr. Nair, your light is at the back of your head, so I only see a halo. So
I'm so sorry. I'll just try to.
It's okay. So I'll ask the question to that, sir. No problem.
Yeah.
Now, Dr. Nair, I find that you have shifted base from Bengaluru TCI to Bhubaneswar, and as a renowned epidemiologist, I think last time when we met on the platform, you were in Bengaluru.
Yes.
Yeah, and now as a renowned epidemiologist working as project lead European Union project with Center for Youth and Social Development Bhubaneswar, what exactly is your role so far as COVID is concerned?
So as of now, I've joined an organization where this particular organization, CYSD, has been reaching out to the tribal population in and around Odisha. And so they've been reaching out to the complete downtrodden and trying to put them up and keep them afloat. And in terms of where I kick in is obviously social development, but also in terms of health, where this organization that I'm working for now has been having a lot of vaccine drives in convergence with the Odisha government for the tribal population in the past during the COVID. And they've been doing a great job. CYSD has been doing a great job in terms of vaccinating tribal population. And I keep going to these community meetings in these villages where I get to know that our organization have licensed with the government and converged with the government and have had, vaccination drives, successful vaccination drives for over 90% for the second dose, which they've reached out to everyone possible in the tribal belt, which, is a commendable job. So when I finished my vaccine consultancy with TCI Foundation, I found that Karnataka did not need my help, to be very honest. they've been doing really well. And whereas the organization that I'm working for now is absolutely at the forefront of, vaccinating people who really need it in the first place. And when I interacted with a lot of people at the tribal belt, they have 100% knowledge about what has happened with COVID. They know what COVID is now because of these organizations reaching out at the base level with convergence with the government, of course. And they know that there's also a precautionary dose that's coming up, which is the way forward. And so our organization has reached to every nook and corner as far as possible. I know the tribal populations have been vaccinated over 90% with the second dose. And they do have knowledge about what COVID is because of the organization that I'm working for, and they're doing a commendable job. Yeah.
Before the vaccination, you deal with a very rare population, the tribal population in Odisha, which is very isolated, and they don't have access to. It's a very rare population in the sense it can be medically used for a lot of things. For example, Dr. Amita Banerjee was saying that about African population, where the incidence of COVID was very less because they were not exposed. Now, do you see, before you started your study, did you see how was the incidence of COVID in the tribal belt?
Well, honestly, this place that I work in, it's called Koraput, if you've heard of it, which belongs to the southern region of Odisha. So I know a few from my past experiences in my past. I have had friends who are working in the community health centers as doctors, as MBBS doctors. So they have told me there was actually a news article that had come out where there was a particular block in a village in Koraput where there was no incidence of COVID at all. This came out in the article and it came out in the forefront And the doctors were appreciative of the fact that, even before the vaccination drive came out or COVID, this particular tribal belt did not even have COVID. It did not even go there. So it had come out in the news articles, and people really appreciated the work of that particular doctor who was at the community health center. And he's done a great job in, even preventing it to be, to even the outbreak did not even happen in that particular tribal belt. So in this
particular tribal belt where populations didn't have COVID incidents at all. Now, when you vaccinated this population, did they have COVID incidents?
Excuse me, I didn't get that, sir.
No, this population that you said where the doctor did a good study where there is no COVID incidents at all.
Yes.
And then probably it must have been followed by a COVID vaccination drive.
Yeah.
Did incidents change after that, or was it the same?
Oh, well, honestly, after post that, there haven't been any updates. I haven't got any updates post that. But this article I had read, and then, I think the vaccines that were given out, even if there were obviously it for a fact that even if there are no incidents of COVID there, as a preventive, they have to take the vaccine. And they've reached out to everyone there, and the vaccine drive was successful.
No, that's where the controversy. That's where the controversy is, because Dr. Rai and probably Dr. Amitabh Banerjee also said the need for a population-based vaccine when there is no
like
COVID.
A focus. Like I was listening to Sanjay sir when he said it has to be more focused vaccinations. Yes.
Yeah.
But
Please go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
No. I mean, please go ahead. I'm just.
And probably you must not have heard Dr. Banerjee also. He also said almost the same thing, saying that we need to have focused vaccination rather than a mass. And he has recently brought out a study also. He said there is no use for a population-based vaccine, and we are wasting our energy, wasting our time and our resources when we actually should.
But I have a question to that. I mean, for how long? For how long?
Dr. Rai, you can answer that.
Yeah. See,
how long, sir?
Whatever evidence we have till date.
Yes, sir.
Right?
Yes.
Till now, a vaccine is protecting at least up to 20, natural infection is protecting up to 20 months. Right. I have already given one example. So we have data 20 months. That does not mean that after 20 months, in 21st month, everybody is susceptible. So natural infection is providing better immunity, longer duration of immunity. There was a publication in Nature, it's a very high impact journal, that may provide lifelong immunity. So we have sufficient evidence. Somehow these are not covered by mainstream media, right? Whatever reason, and by various experts also. I don't know why experts are not covering all this. So we can debate anytime. So how long? We know all these vaccines are providing 6 months, 8 months, 9 months. Up to 9 months protection. But those who had COVID, so those who recovered from COVID, why we are vaccinating, at least I am not clear. Right?
Yes, sir.
See, there are other factors also. No? The vaccine, although the serious adverse events are rare, but after these serious adverse events are because of your immune response. So after getting infections like Dr. Suman Bhandari mentioned, heart attack, etc., what will happen if a person is already recovered from the COVID and we are vaccinating? What are the chances of getting heart attack or blood clotting mechanism in that particular person? So these are the questions. We are scientists, right? So we always raise the questions. We should not blindly follow everything.
Yes.
So thank you.
So there's another point that I really want to make. And the thing is that with the Omicron variant, the outbreak of the Omicron variant, they were subvariants of BA1 variant, BA2 variant. And India, according to research, India was affected with the BA2 variant. And it was highly infectious. And although the effects were not much, that is because of the vaccinations that we have been taken in the past. And because of the change in variants, I've been reading the WHO came out with an article saying that because of the change in variants, the booster doses are important. Also, booster doses are important. So I would like to hear Sanjay sir, your take on this, sir.
Okay. In epidemiology,
Yes,
we
sir.
always teach that
Yeah.
you can only compare apple with apple, right? You can't compare
Yes.
apple with oranges.
That's a golden rule.
Non
Golden
versus
rule.
delta,
Yes.
you cannot compare. It's a
Yes.
really mockery of public health, first.
Right.
Second, why in South Africa, the same
Yeah.
variant is causing problem, and that same variant didn't cause any problem in our country, because
Yes, sir.
sorry, it's not South Africa, South Korea.
South
Why
Korea, yes.
the same variant is not causing problem in South Africa or in India, whereas the same variant is causing problem in your South Korea, right?
Yes.
So why this happened? The only difference is they never had any wave, right? So natural immunity, protection from the natural immunity is almost negligible, less than 10% in these countries, right? Whereas in our country, it's more than 90% now. Now, see, the ICMR did a sero survey in June, July last year, 2021. That time, overall seropositivity was 68%. Almost 70% population had natural immunity. Even in children, that time vaccination rate was, even in children, that was more than 60%, right? So that was the baseline.
Right.
And this is because of this. See, we should be honest. Because of this, right, natural immunity, the third wave, although I agree with Shankarji, we can call this third wave or not. Otherwise, we may face 40th wave also. Fourth, not only fourth, 40th wave. If you are testing, just like a common coronavirus, common cold. So even with the common cold, we can say that there is a huge wave. And you may get more than 50 lakh cases in a day during the seasonal flu or common cold season, right? So because of this natural immunity, we are mainly protected in this severity. That does not mean that vaccine is not causing any benefit. Vaccine is providing benefit, but in a susceptible population. I cannot say that those who had COVID, they are the susceptible. They are the better protected. I can say they are the best protected person on this earth as of now. Thank you.
You want to add anything, Dr. Banerjee?
Thank you, Mr. Shankar. Thank you. I have been listening to this, and actually another very important thing that if you give vaccine to everyone, there have been myocarditis after the vaccination rollout. We are having this pandemic since 2 years. Why did not we have such high rate of myocarditis when the natural infection was running in the pre-vaccine era? Now, post-vaccine era, the myocarditis and the blood clots have increased. Now, those who have recovered from COVID, you are giving mass vaccination to them also. And then any myocarditis, you will attribute it to long COVID. How do you distinguish whether it is due to the vaccine, this myocarditis or clots, or due to the natural infection? So again, you are tampering with evidence. There is no evidence unless you have a control group. This mass vaccination is most unscientific, because this is a big controversy now. Everything which is vaccine side effects will be covered under long COVID.
That's well put. I think that's a point which Dr.
I agree with Dr. Banerjee.
I think what Dr. Rai also had mentioned the same thing. Dr. Bandari, do you want to add anything, because heart came into the picture?
As he rightly pointed out, Dr. Banerjee, that we have seen with Pfizer, with other vaccines, an incidence of myocarditis, incidence of so we should rightly see whether we need multiple boosters and in whom, and it is not something to be taken very lightly.
Right, rightly said. I think Dr. Raman Nair has set the ball rolling, but Dr. Nair, you are actually, you have a golden group for you to study, because this tribal population is extremely isolated.
Yes.
Koraput is extremely backward region, as I think once known for its starvation deaths. But thanks to Orissa government, it has come out of all that. But still, these tribal populations are a wonderful group to study, in far as the infection. Before I wind up, Professor Sanjay Rai, I would like to ask you a tricky question, which Dr. Amitabh Banerjee also tried to answer. But what are the three things that India did right and India did wrong so far as the COVID is concerned?
For not only for India, for the entire world, universal vaccination.
Fine, yeah.
Right. So it's not only applicable to India. entire world universal vaccination against COVID, even after knowing that in few countries where the baseline infection rate was very high, right? See, when we started vaccination program on 16th of January 2021, that time the total reported cases were around 1 crore, if I recall correctly, right? At least, even that time we suggested that vaccine is reducing severity and death. We should defer, because even a single life is a very precious life, right? So we must save life. And that time there was a huge mismatch in demand and supply. So that's why it was important. So, but we never did this, neither in this country or anywhere in this world. Strategic. Okay, we covered, that was the good thing, that we covered strategically your geriatric population and then healthcare provider. That was a good thing. But even in this population, those who had COVID, those who recovered from COVID, this was a wastage that time, right? So the first wrong thing. Second, at country level, your this lockdown during initial phase. But I can justify that with that time we had very limited knowledge about the COVID. Now, after 2 years, we have sufficient knowledge. That time we had very limited knowledge. So to prepare ourselves, that was okay, if you want to prepare. But subsequent lockdowns, we cannot justify, right? Until unless, like during second wave, if you are restricting your movement, that was okay because of high. In third wave, any restriction, we cannot justify any restriction, because more than 80% our hospital beds were lying vacant. So these, and third, children vaccination, again, really for the entire world, why we are vaccinating, I have already explained this. It's death only matter. In children, in adult, if it's a susceptible population, it's death is around 1.5 before Omicron variant. Omicron is a mild variant, so that was for entire world. It was 1.5%. That means per million, around 50,000 were dying if they were susceptible. In case of children, there was a publication in Nature also, in Lancet also, only 2 per million are dying, right? If you, so 2 per million are here, 15,000 are not dying, only 2. Here, vaccine-associated death, even it's rare, 10 to 15 per million, right? Either cardiac inflammatory disease or clotting, etc. is really, if you do the risk and benefit analysis, the risk is more here. In the case of adult, benefit is more, right? So that was a blunder, I can say. That's all. Thank you.
I think it's very much in consonance with what Dr. Amitabh Banerjee also had put up in the beginning.
I was not there, so
yeah.
If it's a repetition, really, I'm sorry for that.
No.
This is a science.
We appreciate that, there are, it comes on a common platform. It reinforces our data so far as it is, you are really in line with on the common page with Dr. Amitabh Banerjee, and that of course reinforces what we really need for this particular country, so that we don't repeat these mistakes in the future. Thank you very much, all, Dr. Professor Rai, Dr. Banerjee, Dr. Ramanai, Dr. Kakar, Dr. Suman Bandai. I think it was wonderful having all of you on this particular. I would have continued this, but for time constraint, I think it was quite a knowledgeable session that we had on COVID, a very tricky virus, but a tricky questions and putting answers that we are supposed to be having. Thank you very much, all of you. It was wonderful having you on our platform, and hope to see you in future also. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We now move on to quiz number 2.
Yes. Last. We should be honest, and we must have courage to speak truth. That's all. I requesting everybody to speak truth only. Thank you very much.
Absolutely right. You hit the nail on the head. I think that is absolutely. And one more important point is, as what Dr. Banerjee said, we should, and you also said apples to apples. I think we didn't go in for a control group so far as these vaccine studies are concerned or COVID is concerned. We just ran like headless chicken, and I think that's where we did a big mistake. We should have had a control group also. Thank you very much. I think wonderful having all of you on our panel. I think beautifully put all these sessions and the important. Thank you once more. We now move on to quiz number 2. Quiz number 2 is, what are the symptoms of the new coronavirus variant XC Omicron? Though there is a doubt on this XC Omicron. One is loss of smell and taste, fever and sore throat, cough and cold, and all the above. Though the data is yet to come out, you can give your answers. Now we move on to the answers of the quiz. Now, quiz number 1, the question was, how many koshas do humans have as per the yogic system? And the correct answer is D. Answer to the quiz number 2 is all the above. I am sure Dr. Amita Banerjee and Dr. Rai may not agree to it, but still all the above. We now move on to another episode of Health4All on pain management, put together by Kishore Malviya.
नमस्कार। दर्द एक आम समस्या है, चाहे सिर दर्द हो या बदन दर्द या पेट में दर्द हो। लेकिन अगर ये हद से ज्यादा हो जाए तो एक वार्निंग बन जाता है, किसी बड़ी बीमारी का संकेत। किसी चोट या घाव के दर्द को तो समझा जा सकता है, लेकिन अगर इसके बिना शरीर के किसी अंग में दर्द हो तो कुछ समझ में नहीं आता। लोग किसी से पूछकर पेन किलर खाकर तकलीफ से राहत पा लेते हैं और फिर भूल जाते हैं। लेकिन दर्द अगर बार बार हो तो उस पर ध्यान देने की जरूरत है। हमने इसी मुद्दे पर कई डॉक्टरों से बातचीत की और ये जानने की कोशिश की कि पेन मैनेजमेंट कैसे किया जाए। अगर बार बार दर्द हो तो क्या करना चाहिए और क्या नहीं। इन्हीं बातचीत के आधार पर हमने आज का हेल्थनामा तैयार किया है।
क्या एक ही दर्द बार बार हो तो ये किसी सीरियस बीमारी का लक्षण है?
किसी भी चीज का बार बार होने का मतलब है कि शरीर उस चीज को फिक्स नहीं कर पा, या कोई एक परेशानी है जो अपने आप ठीक नहीं होने वाली है। इसीलिए क्रॉनिक पेन का जो डेफिनेशन रहता है वो 3 महीने या उससे ज्यादा है। ठीक है, तो अगर शरीर एक चीज को 3 महीने या 6 महीने में फिक्स नहीं कर पा रहा और वो बार बार तंग कर रही है, तो इसका मतलब है कि उसके पीछे कोई कारण है जिसे हमें जांच करके उसका सुधार करना जरूरी है।
हमारे यहाँ देखा जाता है कि ज्यादातर लोग कई बार ये शिकायत करते हैं कि सुबह सोकर उठते हैं तो सिर में दर्द रहता है, हालांकि घंटे 2 घंटे बाद वो ठीक हो जाता है। तो ये जो सिर दर्द रहता है अगर बार बार होता है सुबह सोकर उठने के बाद, तो ये क्या किसी बीमारी का लक्षण है या ये स्लीप डिसऑर्डर है?
पहले तो मैं ये कहना चाहूंगा कि जरूरी बात ये है कि हम ये जाने कि वो किस एज ग्रुप के पेशेंट में हो रहा है, उसका सिग्निफिकेंस होता है। उससे और कहीं पे और शरीर के किसी और अंग में दर्द है या नहीं, उन चीजों का भी सिग्निफिकेंस होता है। हमें पहली चीज तो ये जाननी होगी कि पेन का जब भी हम इलाज करते हैं तो हम एक चीज को लेकर के निर्णय नहीं ले पाते हैं कि ये सिग्निफिकेंट है या नहीं है या क्या हो सकता है। पेन का डायग्नोसिस बनाने के लिए हमें बहुत सारी चीजों को एक साथ जोड़ना पड़ता है। अनफॉर्चुनेटली ऐसा कोई टेस्ट नहीं है जो हमें 100% ये बताता है कि दर्द यहाँ से आ रहा है। मान लीजिए कि हम किसी का MRI भी कराते हैं, तो MRI हमें ये बता सकता है कि नॉर्मल में ऐसा दिखता है, यहाँ पे कोई और चीज है जो एबनॉर्मल है, जो ट्यूमर हो सकता है या ये हो सकता है या वो हो सकता है। लेकिन क्या वो चीज दर्द कर रही है ये हम नहीं कह सकते। तो हमारे पास डिस्पाइट जो भी एडवांसमेंट हुई है, एक भी ऐसी चीज नहीं है जो हमें ये 100% बता पाए कि यहाँ से दर्द आ रहा है। तो हम डायग्नोसिस कैसे करते हैं? इंसान की हिस्ट्री लेते हैं, उसको एग्जामिन करते हैं, उसके टेस्ट कराते हैं, और ये 3 विभिन्न भाग हैं डायग्नोसिस की तरफ जाने के। फिर उन सबको जोड़ते हैं और एक इंटेलिजेंट गेस लेते हैं कि ये दर्द किस कारण से हो सकता है, और फिर हम उसके हिसाब से ट्रीटमेंट को शुरू करते हैं।
क्या माइग्रेन के लिए मेडिकेशन परमानेंट सॉल्यूशन है या ये लाइफस्टाइल से ही क्योर हो सकता है?
सर दर्द को हम अगर बात करते हैं, सर दर्द मेरे क्लिनिक में 30% पेशेंट सर दर्द के होते हैं। अगर मैं महीने में 500 मरीज देखता हूं तो 30% मरीज सर दर्द के होते हैं। सर दर्द को पहले तो हमें डिफाइन करना पड़ेगा कि वो प्राइमरी हेडेक है या सेकेंडरी हेडेक है। प्राइमरी हेडेक का मतलब होता है कि जिसके अंदर अगर मैं पेशेंट का ब्रेन या सीटी स्कैन कराऊं वो बिल्कुल नॉर्मल निकले। ओके, सेकेंडरी हेडेक होता है जिसके अंदर आपको या तो कोई ट्यूमर है या इन्फेक्शन है या कोई वेसल की प्रॉब्लम है, ठीक है, तो ऐसे दर्द उसमें सीटी स्कैन या एमआरआई में कुछ ना कुछ फाइंडिंग्स निकलते हैं, इनको हम बोलते हैं सेकेंडरी हेडेक। अब अमूमन पेन क्लिनिक्स पे हम पेशेंट की हिस्ट्री और एग्जामिनेशन पे जज कर पाते हैं कि ये प्राइमरी हेडेक है या सेकेंडरी हेडेक। अब अगर हम बात करते हैं प्राइमरी हेडेक की, जो सबसे ज्यादा कॉमन है, उसके अंदर 3 प्रकार के दर्द आते हैं, टेंशन हेडेक, माइग्रेन, और एक होता है ब्रॉड टर्म जिसको हम बोलते हैं टैक्स, जिसके अंदर सबसे कॉमनेस्ट है क्लस्टर हेडेक। तो अगर ये 3 प्रकार के दर्द को हमने आइडेंटिफाई किया, इसके अंदर अगर मरीज को दर्द कभी कभार होता है, जैसे महीने में 1 बार या 2 बार, तब तो हम उसको एबॉर्टिव मेडिसिन देते हैं। एबॉर्टिव का मतलब कि वो दवाई ली और वो बंद हो गया। लेकिन अगर वो सर का दर्द उनको रेगुलरिटी में अफेक्ट कर रहा है, मोर देन 4-5 बार हो रहा है महीने में, या उनके काफी दिन खराब हो रहे हैं, 8 दिन 10 दिन खराब हो रहे हैं उस दर्द से, तो हमें कुछ ऐसी दवाइयां देनी होती है जो नसों पे काम करे ताकि उस दर्द के होने की संभावना कम हो जाए।
जो दर्द है, चाहे वो सिर दर्द हो या बदन दर्द हो, ये लगभग एक तरह के होते हैं, और कई बार ऐसे भी होते हैं कि अभी दर्द है और 1 घंटे के बाद अपने आप खत्म हो गया। पहली बात तो ये कि अलग अलग तरह के दर्द का को कैसे अंतर करे आम आदमी, वो कौन सा समय है कि पेशेंट ये समझे कि नहीं अब वक्त है डॉक्टर को कंसल्ट करने का।
बहुत अच्छा सवाल है सर आपका, बहुत रेलेवेंट क्वेश्चन है। अगर कोई भी दर्द, जैसे हम दिन में काम करते हैं बेस्ड ऑन हमारा वर्क प्रोफाइल, जैसे हमारा बैठने का ज़्यादा काम है, चलने का ज़्यादा काम है, झुक के काम करने का ज़्यादा है, पीठ पे ज़्यादा वजन उठा रहे हैं, उस हिसाब से उस हिस्से का पेन जनरेटर हम ढूंढते हैं कि दर्द कहाँ से आ रहा है। अभी अगर कोई भी दर्द आपको दिन में अपना नॉर्मल काम करने नहीं दे रहा, आपको सोने नहीं दे रहा, आप उसके बारे में हफ्ते में 2 बार से ज्यादा सोच रहे हैं, आपको हफ्ते में 2 बार उसके लिए दवाई लेनी पड़ रही है, या उसकी वजह से आपको और प्रॉब्लम हो रही है, आपको अपना जॉब प्रोफाइल चेंज करना पड़ रहा है, आप घर में चिड़चिड़े रह रहे हैं, आपको नींद नहीं आ रही, तो अगर दर्द के साथ दर्द का हम एक मापने का हमारे पास स्केल होता है जो कि जो भी पेशेंट है वो खुद डिसाइड करता है। कोई भी इंसान अगर बोल रहा है कि उसको दर्द है तो हम मान के चलते हैं कि ये दर्द है, और उसको मापने का जो भी स्केल है, न्यूमेरिकल रेटिंग स्केल या विजुअल एनालॉग स्केल, वो पेशेंट पे ही डिपेंडेंट होता है, वही बताता है कि हमारा दर्द कितना है। तो अगर उसमें दर्द 1 से 10 रुपए के स्केल पे दर्द को नापते हैं, 1 रुपए मतलब कोई दर्द नहीं, और 10 रुपए मतलब जो हमारे जिंदगी का सबसे बुरा दर्द हमने फील किया, हड्डी टूटने का, प्रसव का दर्द, तो अगर उसमें पेशेंट का पेन 3 से नीचे है तो वो हमारा दिनचर्या क्या है, हम आराम कर लेंगे, ठीक हो जाएगा। 3 से 4 से 6 का है तो उसके लिए हमें कोई माइल्ड एनाल्जेसिक, कोई हल्की दवाइयां देनी पड़ेंगी जिससे उनका काम चलता रहे। अगर दर्द का स्कोर 7 और या 7 से ऊपर है तो उसके लिए हमें बहुत ध्यान देने की जरूरत है, क्योंकि वो इंसान अपना नॉर्मल काम नहीं कर पा रहा। तो कोई भी दर्द जो आपको रोज तंग कर रहा है, आपकी नॉर्मल दिनचर्या नहीं करने दे रहा, या आपके दिमाग में हर समय बना हुआ, जैसे हम पेन डायरी मेंटेन कराते हैं हर मरीज से कि आप उसको लिखो कि आपको कितना ये तंग कर रहा है, और बेस्ड ऑन दैट प्रोफाइल आप आइए, और जो भी आपके नजदीक में है, पेन को जितना जल्दी हम स्पेशलिस्ट का ओपिनियन लेंगे उसको ठीक करना उतना आसान होगा।
पेन कब और कैसे क्रोनिक बन जाता है? मैं उस पेन की बात कर रहा हूँ जो किसी इंजरी से रिलेटेड नहीं है। कब और कैसे ये क्रोनिक बन जाता है, और क्या इस तरह के पेन का कोई प्रिवेंशन है?
पेन क्रोनिक बनने के बहुत सारे रीजन होते हैं, और हम उनको रोक भी सकते हैं। ये कोई एक दिन में नहीं बन जाता। मोस्ट ऑफ द केसेस में किसी जॉइंट का हमें गलत इस्तेमाल करना, ज़्यादा इस्तेमाल करना, सर्जरी के बाद एक्यूट पेन का ठीक से ट्रीटमेंट नहीं कर पाना, खान पान में ठीक से ध्यान नहीं रखना, अपना वजन कंट्रोल नहीं करना, एक्सरसाइज नहीं करना, ये सब कुछ रीजंस होते हैं जो कि एक्यूट पेन को क्रॉनिक पेन में बदलते हैं। और अगर हमें जिस समय किसी भी शरीर के हिस्से में, चाहे वो घुटने का हो, बैक का हो, हमें जल्द से जल्द एक पेन स्पेशलिस्ट का ओपिनियन लेना चाहिए, क्योंकि इसका इलाज सिर्फ दवाओं से, सर्जरी से या किसी इंटरवेंशन से नहीं होता। हमें एक थोड़ा सा लाइफस्टाइल मॉडिफाई करना होता है, थोड़ा सा वेट मॉडिफिकेशन और थोड़े बहुत दर्द की दवाइयों की जरूरत पड़ती है। मोस्ट ऑफ द केसेस में हम सक्सेसफुल होते हैं।
बायो इलेक्ट्रिक थेरेपी क्या है और ये पेन मैनेजमेंट में किस तरह मदद करती है?
फिजियोथेरेपी में ऐसे इलेक्ट्रिकल इक्विपमेंट्स बहुत सारे यूज करते हैं आजकल। सिर्फ बायो इलेक्ट्रिक थेरेपी ही नहीं, आजकल मतलब शॉक वेव से लेकर लेजर से लेकर आगे हम बहुत बढ़ चुके हैं, जिसकी वजह से हमारा पेन कम हो सकता है। हमें ये जानना बहुत जरूरी है कि ये पेन थोड़े दिनों के लिए कम हो सकता है, ये आपकी लाइफ टाइम रिक्वायरमेंट नहीं। आपका पेन इसलिए कम किया जाता है जिससे कि आप एक्सरसाइज करें, मसल स्ट्रेंथन करें, लाइफस्टाइल सुधारें और फिर आप एक नॉर्मल इंसान की तरह रह सके। मतलब क्योंकि मेरे पास पेशेंट्स ऐसे आते हैं कि वो बोलेंगे कि मैम आप हर रोज ये कर दीजिए, और मैं बोलूंगी कि आप एक्सरसाइज कीजिए, वो करके जाते हैं, फिर 2 महीने बाद वापस आ जाते हैं। उनको लगता है पैसे हैं तो स्पेंड कर दें। तो इलेक्ट्रिकल स्टिमुलेशन से लेकर, इलेक्ट्रिकल स्टिमुलेशन तो नहीं बट हाँ IFT हो गया, टेंस हो गया, रशियन करंट हो गया, बहुत सारी ऐसे करंट्स हैं जो आपका टेम्पररी रिलीफ देती हैं। कि एक पेन किलर आपको टेम्पररी रिलीफ देता है, वो आपका उपाय नहीं है। इसी तरीके से ये इलेक्ट्रिकल जो भी इक्विपमेंट्स है ये आपको टेम्पररी रिलीफ देते हैं, ये उपाय नहीं।
कई बार एक साथ शरीर के कई हिस्से में दर्द होता है, क्या ये इंटरकनेक्टेड होता है?
यस, ये बहुत बार ऐसे पेशेंट्स होते हैं जिनको 2 टाइप के पेशेंट्स मैं बहुत रेगुलरली पेन क्लिनिक पे देखता हूँ। एक होता है जिसके अंदर आपके शरीर के बहुत सारे हिस्सों में दर्द हो, गर्दन में दर्द है, अपर बैक में दर्द है, लोअर बैक में दर्द है, हाथों में दर्द है, पैरों में दर्द है, और इसके अंदर आपके सारे ब्लड टेस्ट नॉर्मल आते हैं। ठीक है, थायराइड, विटामिन डी, यूजुअली फीमेल्स होती हैं। ठीक है, इनमें ज्यादातर फीमेल्स होती हैं, और ये दर्द को हम बोलते हैं फाइब्रोमाइल्जिया। दिस इज अ सॉर्ट ऑफ अ सेंट्रल पेन। ठीक है, एंड इसके अंदर मसल्स के डिफरेंट पार्ट्स में ट्रिगर पॉइंट्स बन जाते हैं। दूसरा होता है कि सोमेटाइजेशन डिसऑर्डर, जिसको हम बोलते हैं सोमैटिक पेन डिसऑर्डर। तो सोमैटिक पेन डिसऑर्डर एक तरीके की मानसिक परेशानी है, जिसके अंदर मरीज को ये लगता रहता है कि शरीर के कुछ हिस्सों में उसको दर्द हमेशा ही रहता है। जैसे कि मरीज को कभी तो शोल्डर में दर्द हो जाएगा, वो ठीक हो गया तो फिर अब कूल्हे में शुरू हो जाएगा, फिर उसको सर में दर्द शुरू हो जाएगा, किसी को पेट में दर्द शुरू हो जाएगा, साथ में डिप्रेशन रहना, साथ में आपको नींद ठीक से नहीं आना। तो ये सोमैटिक पेन सिम्टम डिसऑर्डर भी एक तरीके की प्रॉब्लम है, जिसमें शरीर के डिफरेंट अंग्स में प्रॉब्लम हो सकती है और आपकी सारी जांचें नॉर्मल आए।
तो आप समझ गए होंगे कि बार बार होने वाले दर्द को हल्के में ना लिया जा सकता। आजकल ज्यादातर अस्पतालों में अलग से पेन मैनेजमेंट के लिए विभाग भी बना हुआ है। आपको अगर दर्द ज्यादा तकलीफ दे तो आप ऐसे अस्पतालों में पेन मैनेजमेंट डिपार्टमेंट से संपर्क कर सकते हैं। आज के हेल्थनामा में इतना ही। हेल्थनामा के सभी एपिसोड्स देखने के लिए आप YouTube के हील टीवी को सब्सक्राइब कर सकते हैं। नमस्कार।
Bye.